Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the continuation of the NXTGEN Racing GT3 League, as brought to you on the Premier Sim Racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing. And as always, it's Season 4, and we return today for the attempt to run this for the second time, round 6 of 8 here at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. Located deep within the United Kingdom and widely regarded as the home of British motorsport, you'd be hard-pressed to find a faster-paced circuit when it comes to combinations of corners and straights. Well, it's arguably considered the ultimate high downforce circuit, where the aim of the game is to maximise corner speed and carry that speed onto long straights, and in the end come out on top by simply outrunning your opponents to the checkered flag. Vessel drivers get ready to go racing tonight. Well, we can see our schedule there. Times in British summertime, that's BST, alternatively Universal Coordinated Time UTC +1. And we can see our drivers will be going racing in approximately what will be 14 minutes time, with the opening qualifying session 20 minutes in duration. All the drivers out of the circuit looking to set their best possible times, and whilst overtaking is going to be highly possible around here if it's wide open road surface, the Silverstone circuit will reward those drivers who manage to put it on pole. After that, we'll immediately make our way to the grid for our first race of this evening. That'll be the 20-minute sprint race, expected to start at approximately 20 past 8, after which we'll take a brief breather before returning at approximately what will be about 10 past 9 in order to have the build up for the feature race, which will be kicking off at the 60-minute mark of what is 20 past 9 this evening. And 60 minutes of race in that feature race, 3 times the duration of the sprint, with an all-important pit stop thrown into the mix as well, and therefore our drivers will need to balance the art of pace versus strategy in that second race. But we say hello and welcome to you all, whether you're tuning in via the 2 official media broadcasts, alternatively the unofficial broadcast, and welcome to you guys and girls firstly tuning in via YouTube on the official NXTGEN Racing YouTube channel, and indeed go to youtube.com and search for NXTGEN Racing and you'll find it there on YouTube. We also welcome you if you're tuning in via Facebook and the official NXTGEN Racing Facebook group, and that's at facebook.com/groups/NXTGEN Racing. Hello to you there. And lastly, you may be tuning in via the unofficial media broadcast brought to you on Twitch. That's at twitch.tv/TX141, and welcome to you on Twitch. But who is TX141, I hear you ask? Well, allow me to introduce myself. I'm your host and commentator, Paul Walsh, also known as TX141, or Britain as Bit, depending on what media you follow me on. And I'll bring you all your racing action over the course of the entirety of the season. And what a season we have had thus far, and we've still got plenty to go. And well, let's just give a recap of how the schedule has now been shifted as a result of last week's postponement of this round. For we can see today is the 13th of September 2023, and after today we'll have 2 more rounds remaining. But let's take a step back all the way to the beginning and tell you the story in quick summary. We started off back on the 28th of June at the Sebring International Raceway in the United States of America, and the Florida State circuit absolutely delivering and kicking off on a high, particularly with the rise of the CSA drivers, the Chris Shorter Academy team drivers of Chris Shorter and Stephan Wessels, absolutely lighting things up at the front of the field. That was in our opening sprint and feature race round. In our second round, which was also a sprint and feature combination, we got to see at the Fuji International Speedway, Stephan Wessels absolutely delivering the gold class, but also as a rise of a good number of drivers in the silver class, and we got to see a good number of battles and exchanges between the likes of Sergio Gonzalez Martin and also Russell Fowler. Then, from the 12th of July, we made our way 2 weeks later, staying in Japan, to the Suzuka International Racing Course, and the 26th of July in our first endurance race round of the season. Well, there we got to see the challenge of pace versus strategy play out, and in the gold class it was Gavan Gardener who was able to use strategy to his advantage and able to stay one step ahead of Stephan Wessels right to the checkered flag. It was one of the closest conclusions on strategy that we have seen in the GT3 League's career. And then in round number 4 we made our way back to the United States of America for the Road America circuit, and the Wisconsin State absolutely delivering there at the fast flying and classic road racing circuit in the American countryside, and we got to see plenty of battles up and down the field. And then in our 5th round, last time out on the 23rd of August, we saw our second endurance race round in Germany at the Nürburgring, or the Nürburgring, a combined layout of the Nürburgring circuit, and we got to see our drivers there try to survive the circuit just as much as put down the pace, and history was made in particular when we did see Alfonso Marin take home the silver class win, but also with it also take home the overall win, the first silver class or lower class driver to take an overall win in the GT3 League's history. And what a historical way to do it after Sim. A good number of drivers fall by the wayside in the early stages, and in the end it was all about the silver class driver for KFM Motorsport, who absolutely delivered when the pressure was against him. But today is the 13th of September and we are here in the United Kingdom at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit for a sprint and feature combo, and next week we will be seeing round number 7 on the 20th of September, and that will be at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, or Mosport as it's known in short, and the Canadian circuit there will be very fast flying and quite similar in a way to the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, albeit the key difference being in Canada we're going to have plenty of elevation change, whereas here today we're going to have very little elevation change, and we'll come to exactly why that is very shortly, but that will be our final sprint and feature combination round of the season. And on the 4th of October, so you'll have to wait 2 weeks after round number 7, round 8 of 8 will be brought to you live in France at the Circuit de la Sarthe, also known as the Circuit de 24 du Mans, alternatively in just known as Le Mans. And indeed, our drivers will be looking forward to delivering there on the ultimate stage in our third and final round of racing in terms of endurance class races, and who will be able to come away with the ultimate accolade of being the star of Le Mans. We'll have to wait to see, and also who will be our champions in the gold, silver and bronze driver championships, and also the team's championship will still plenty to play for, and indeed all of our championships currently wide open. Now, speaking of championships, let's give you a recap of the gold class, and we give you the update then after it's 5 rounds of racing. And as we can see, it's Stephan Wessels who leads the way by 8 points over Gavan Gardener, and Wessels having a difficult day last time out in Germany, and we'll got to see a good amount of his lead cut down, but Gavan Gardener as well not really making up too much ground, and therefore the 8-point gap there really goes to show how Wessels has not been countered upon or capitalised upon by his rivals when he's had those difficult moments. Meanwhile, Gavan Gardener continues to stay in touch there in P2, albeit only a point ahead of Akram Zinoune, the fastest lap driver in Germany, and definitely was on course for the overall win until a late error cost him very dear, but still able to bring home a big result there and leapfrog his way into P3 and hold on to the top 2 very closely. Now Benjamin McCluskey P4 right now, and the best of the rest technically on 114 points, with the fact the gap between himself and Akram Zinoune almost up to 50 points. It's 47 to be precise, and a third 2 points behind him with Victor Shamara there, who's closed in on the hunt for P4. Then it's quite a sizable gap to Gianni Taha in P6, 86 points there to the 82 of Chris Shorter, but Chris Shorter returning to the grid over the last couple of rounds, albeit it didn't quite work out in Germany with the fact of retirement after 1 lap, and very unfortunate for the South African driver, but he'll be hoping that things go his way today. 10 points behind him is brother Matt Shorter on 72 points, and then we do have a further 7 points behind Jonathan Cook P9 and Gaz Williams, or Gareth Williams, as he's known in full, completing at the top 10 on there, 64 points. Adam Delmont, best of SP11 there on 38 points, ahead of Joe Newman, who made his debut last time out, having started from the back of the grid in Germany, the full back of the grid, and charged his way through to a top 5 finish, and an absolutely fantastic drive for the Empire Motorsport driver, and he's ahead of Miguel Gutierrez Garcia, based on result countback, and then we can see Eric Rosev P14 on 32 points, ahead of Jan Craig and Jamie Dory to complete the Gold Championship standings. Coming on to the silver class, meanwhile, and here we can see Russell Fowler leads the way by 33 points over Sergio Gonzalez-Martin. And Russell Fowler right now, definitely the firm favourite to lead the way to victory in the overall championship, but at the same time knowing that 33 points is not a huge margin if you drop a couple of rounds. And therefore, when Gonzalez-Martin tries to close up, Fowler may have the advantage right now, but you could see the tide could change today given the fact we have had a sizable break between our previous round. Tristan Engelstad still holding on to the top 2 there in P3. What is the best part of 16? In fact, there'll be 17 points behind there, and he's got to be aware of the fact that Lee Horn is not too far away with his own deficit by comparison, standing at 25 points. Now, Alfonso F. Marin, only a further 2 points behind, completes the top 5 there and jumping his way up into the top 5 after that win at the Nürburgring. In P6 is Derek Camano ahead of Ernesto de la Fuente, with Tom Bingham P8 there on 101 points, and not having the best of results by comparison with his teammate who leads the standings, but still continue to rise up and build that momentum. And it's Ben Bennyworth and Jack Bark who complete your top 10. Outside the top 10 at P11 best of rest is Matthew Addy there on 59 points, 8 clear of Paul Scott. Well, you can see at P13, having made his debut last time out, and great to see the German back out on circuit representing Speed9 Esports. And then Stefan Albanese and Luke Eagle complete your top 15, with Paul Williams just outside the top 15 in P16, last but not least, based on result count back only, with the fact he shares 20 points with Eagleham. We then come onto the bronze class, last but not least in our Drivers' Championships, and as we can see, Sean Scooter right now leads the way on what is 160 points to 144 for Elvin Sykes, and right now the 2 CSA drivers there top in the standings. However, they've got to be careful in the fact that Nigel Stock is only a further point behind, and after what was a relatively quiet race in Germany 2 weeks ago for Nigel Stock, coming on home with that all-important win and therefore gaining further progress. Indeed, he'll feel as though that's deserved after what was the difficult opening couple of rounds of the season, where he involved himself in a good number of instance, and most of those was just simply in the wrong place at the right time. Daniel Fritz, meanwhile, a further point behind, and that battle for P2 right now absolutely escalating, with the Australian driver there falling back to P4, but not out the hunt yet, and Alexander Rogenbach with his best performances of the season at the Nürburgring, moving into P5 on 136 points. 10 behind him is Davide Farvo, ahead of Jordan Bebois, with Jorge Santos P8 there, but Jordan Bebois having a few struggles this season so far, and the Ferrari driver definitely feeling as though right now that title defence is looking to be on the threshold. Wesley Lewin at P90 on 85 points, and Craig Tillotson completes your top 10 on 78. You have John Meredith best of P11 there on 44 points, only ahead of Mark Sykes based on result countback, with Matthew Sheraton at P13 for Aztec Racing ahead of teammate James Francis Gal. Then it's Josh Brown P15 ahead of Daniel Stimmen and Jake Pitt who complete your championship standings, albeit Stimmen ahead of Pitt based on result countback only at this time. And then coming lastly onto the Teams Championship, we can see here KFM Motorsport Red lead the way by 5 points over Chris Shorter Academy Pink. Indeed, the difference between the two teams right now standing at 5 points, and then KFM Motorsport Yellow a further 25 points behind. It means it's open season inside the top three, albeit right now KFM Motorsport definitely trying to make it a 1-2 come the end of the championship, with Chris Shorter Academy Pink trying to usurp them and spoil the apple cart, if you will. And then P4, it's Performance Link Esports, who are gradually rising their way up through the ranks. They now moved into P4 for the first time this season, and they hold a 9-point advantage over Chris Shorter Academy Blue. A further 20 points behind in P6 is Quad Dash Racing as they continue to try to push their way into the top 5. They're only 5 points clear of Crest Autosport, with NXTGEN Racing Team Purple at P8 for 2 points behind. And then you have jointly on 216 points Chris Shorter Academy Green, who are ahead of NXTGEN Racing Team Pink only on result countback. Outside the top 10 at P11 best of rest is NXTGEN Racing Team Red. They're ahead of FR20 Sim Racing. And there's Aztec Racing and Meredith Racing to complete your standings. But now coming on to our circuit for today then, it's none other than the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit located near the town of Silverstone in the county of Northamptonshire in England, the United Kingdom. And as we can see from the circuit map provided to us by iRacing.com, thank you to them for their brilliant circuit maps that come with the absolutely fantastic simulator. Well, this circuit is one of perhaps the most notable in the United Kingdom and arguably one of the icons of international road racing motorsport. And its core is a variety of 18 corners and very fast flying corners at that, where it be Abbey into Farm Curve at turns at 1 and 2, or later on in the lap, the run through Cops Corner at turn number 9, or the serpentine sequence of Maggots into Beckett's through to Chapel at turns 10 through to 14. There's much to be loved around here, and while this circuit is very flat as it is based on the site originally of a Royal Air Force base as used during the Second World War. So therefore, whilst it has little elevation change, this circuit makes up for it with variety, and as our drivers charge across the start finish line in towards turn number 1, it's going to be as close as possible to flat out through the fast flowing right-hander of Abbey and up through Farm Curve into the heavy braking zone of Village. Hard on the brakes then to turn number 3, our drivers will need to switch over to the right hand side of the road to set themselves up for the loop hairpin at turn number 4 before flat out all the way through Aintree and onto the Wellington Straight. And then they'll come into the very tricky combination, the Brooklands into Luffield chicane, the left into right there of medium speed apexes, with Luffield having a bump in the middle of the road at turn number 7, which will see our drivers find themselves slightly encountering oversteer as they try to power their way out of the long right hander and onwards towards Woodcock Corner. And that's back where the original start for the straight used to be, coming through turn number 8, and as they make the way flat out up towards Cops Bend, well, corner the way you could go too wide, but you've got to be very precarious in doing so, and as they make the way through the fast right-hander, it's then the charge into Maggots into Beckett. Turns 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14 will see our drivers wind their way on down speed, and as they exit out of turn number 13, they'll build the speed up immediately coming out of Beckett's to charge through the King of 14 at Chapel and onto the Hanger Straight, and heading down that back straight will be the battle into Stowe Corner, an infamous corner. Indeed, perhaps some of you will remember the infamous, what was it, Mansell PK manoeuvre, the dummy at Silverstone a few years ago, and as they make their way into Stowe Corner there, could we see a dummy be sent today? As they come out the right hand, they'll make their way down the Val into turn 16 and 17, the low-speed chicane, coming up to the final corner of Club, and through the right-hand kink, they'll make their way onto a new lap to do it all over again. As we come on to our rules for today, we can see this is a fixed setup series with setups provided ahead of each round, and drivers are permitted to change car up to round 5, but will forfeit 50 points in doing so, so therefore the cars are now locked in effectively as no more car changes are permitted. And driver class-wise, they've been finalised as the conclusion of round number 3, so we're not expecting any class changes, but we do have one new driver on the grid who we will introduce accordingly in qualifying, and we'll take you through how they've been classified. An open qualifying format shall be used in qualifying, so all of our drivers will share the track together for the 20 minutes available. And coming on to the race rules, we'll sprint race-wise, it shall be a commencement by a rolling start in a designated green flag zone, and the same applies for the feature race. Drivers shall have one fast spare available to them in the sprint race should they pick up any damage and need to come into the pits. Alternatively, they may be forced into the pits if they receive a drive-through penalty, which they must serve within 3 laps of accruing it, and that is to accumulate 15 more instant points. In the feature race, meanwhile, we'll see that it's a rolling start once again, but this time the number of fast repairs multiplies to 2 fast repairs, and the grid order shall be set as a class reverse grid based on results of the sprint race, and drivers who did not finish the sprint starting from the back of their respective class. So the golds will start ahead of the silvers, who start ahead of the bronzes, and will the lowest place finisher in the gold class starts at the front of the field, and then we work our way backwards through the golds, then onto the silvers, and such forth. A driver shall receive a drive-through penalty in this race, so they accumulate 25 or more instant points, and they are expected to make at least one mandatory strategic pit stop in the race in which fuel must be taken, but changing tyres is entirely optional. That's enough rules, regulation, everything in between. I know what you're all here for. You're here for the racing, and as we make our way back to our live pictures, ladies and and gentlemen, and our drive's making the way on around right now. Well, without further ado, we look to our gold championship leader here, Stephan Wessels, the CSAP, the Chris Shorter Academy driver here in the Porsche 992. Looking to his utmost right now in order to restabilise the championship going into this round, for the simple reason only 2 rounds to go after today. He'll want to open up that advantage a little bit more, an advantage that was quite sizable at one point, extends up to the best part of 20 points, but it has been cut back down due to the performances of his rivals and also some difficulty when he's been in front, alternatively just not having the races he's wanted to. But he parks up there and decides to head back to the pit lane. Meanwhile, looking from our gold leader towards our silver leader, Russell Fowler, where he decides to make his way to the pit lane there. A few of them a bit camera shy, it would seem, but as they make their way to the pit lane, we also do look to Stefan Albanese Senior, the DRS Esports driver in the silver class here, as he gradually makes his way on down into the left into right turn 16 and 17. And well, the Porsche 992 driver looking good today, albeit currently unranked with regards to his lap times in this practice session, but still I think holding the best till last and getting himself set up for qualifying. But as he heads across the timeline here and goes at P6, well, we'd just like to point out there is the birthday of one of our drivers today on this grid, and well, will we see him in the bronze class? I don't think he's currently in attendance at the moment, but it is happy birthday to Sean Scooter from Chris Shorter Academy and the South African driver. He is your championship leader in the bronze class. If he's not on the grid today, I think you can understand why he'll be celebrating his birthday. But Sean, if you're tuning in right now, happy birthday to you, and I hope you're having a fantastic day, and we do look forward to seeing you on the grid in the near future to see if you can bring home that bronze championship title for this season. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for qualifying. 20 minutes and all the drives immediately thundering the way out the pit lane. A bit of wheel spin there for Jamie Dory in particular, and as they make their way on out here, so you may be wondering at this point, well, the fact that we do still have the Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo on the grid, one being exemplified by Gavan Gardener here as he makes his way on down. With that in mind, why have we not decided to implement the new Ferrari 296, which has arrived on the iRacing servers as of the most recent major update? For the simple reason, ladies and gentlemen, we are almost at the 3/4 of the way point into this championship now, and therefore we did decide, given the fact that the Ferrari 488 may be phased out of official races, but it is still relevant in terms of balance of performance. We have done some testing and we haven't seen any dip in its performance compared to its rivals. We are requiring our Ferrari drivers to stay with the 488 Evo, the V8 powered Ferrari, which will be giving way to the 6-cylinder powered Ferrari as of the next season of the GT3 League. You'll be certain of that, but that's why we're staying with the older car here, and it's only fair to all the drivers in the fact that we have completed the majority of the season, and we are past the point of no return when it does come to car swaps, as we mentioned earlier on. He makes his way on out there. We do see Cup in the YouTube chat, and we're going to say hello to a good number of you in the YouTube chat, starting off with Cup, or Jake Pitt, I do believe, who's having technical issues, and therefore he's having to pull out, and that's very sad to hear, Jay, and I'm very sorry in the fact that you have those technical issues late on, but I hope that you can go to those fixed for the purposes of the next round, so we would love to see you out on the grid in the Ford GT, and well, as I try to make the way through, indeed, I do believe going from one Aztec Racing driver to another. We do have a new Aztec Racing driver on the grid today, and it is the silver class driver here, Daniel Smith, who, as he makes his way through, winding his way through Megas into Beckett's, he'll be representing Aztec Racing, I do believe, and as he comes on down there in a very colourful livery, a bit different from the liveries we typically see for Aztec Racing. Indeed, we normally see them in what is a sort of pinkish red colour, but today he's running in the green and white with some red trails through the car. Lovely look on that Porsche 992, and well, can he make it go as fast as it looks? Well, fingers crossed he will be able to, and we'd love to see Smith mix things up in the silver class as he winds his way in front. He's been placed there as he doesn't have too much experience in the GT3 League and NXTGEN Racing, so we decided to put him in the middle class based on his rating and also what we've seen in his practice. And there's a bit of contact there with Jordan Baybois, and I think Baybois won't be too pleased about the fact he's just been given the elbow out by Smith, and the two drivers stepping over the top of one another as they both got to their first flying laps. Well, I think Baybois feels as though he was backing off there to set himself up with some space, and Smith just jumped in and taken the space off of him, and then backs off there, but definitely the two of them negotiating, and well, both of them are off to a bit of a shaky start in qualifying. But as they make their way through, we also do say hello there to Evil in the YouTube chat, also to Sonny Bond. We also do say hello there to Jelston. Well, I believe that's Jolson, in fact, not Jelston. We're not talking about Medieval Knights here. Indeed, get the username right if we can. And well, good evening to you guys. And well, if you are tuning in right now and you're feeling a little bit shy, don't feel shy. Feel free to say hi, whether you're on YouTube, Twitch, or alternatively Facebook. We welcome everybody here at NXTGEN, whether it be on the grid, alternatively in the spectator stands. And we'd love to hear your thoughts with regards to who you expect to be on pole today. And also let us know how you're doing, as of course it's always good to hear how everybody's doing here. And if you're having a bit of a humpy day right now, in terms of the fact it's not a great Wednesday for you, well, hopefully this racing can put a smile on your face and indeed turn that frown upside down. As our drivers roll the way on through right now. Meanwhile, we do look to when it's Akram Zinoune, the Mercedes-AMG Evo driver here, who's definitely proven to be one of the faster Gold Class drivers over the course of this season. But with that speed has also come a few racing instances way, and well, not all of those necessarily his fault, but I definitely think he'll feel as though he wants to try and steer clear of any danger today, as it was that danger that took him out of contention of what was the overall win at the Nürburgring. Albeit still a great result in the Gold Class in Germany 2 weeks ago, but I think he'll feel as though perhaps things could have gone a little bit better rather than the way it did play out in the end. But as we're starting to see our first times on the board, Jonathan Cook putting down the marker was a 59.954. I did have the opportunity to catch up with Cook in the build-up to tonight, and what he was saying to me is that he's going into this round with newfound confidence. He feels that he's had a breakthrough with his own driving style and technique, and been able to improve his consistency, I should say, and also constantly find little nuggets of lap time here and there. And when it's all put together, he feels as though those lap times are coming down, and therefore right now he's really on a high when it comes to his pace and that consistency that comes with it. Now he's going to be looking to try and grab a strong finishing position today. I think he'll be targeting the podium, or he won't want to lose the rear end like that as he makes his way through turn number 6 in the race in particular. That's going to cost him a lot of time, perhaps pushing it a little bit too hard there for what the tyres are able to do on the second flying lap. But he's looking for an outright podium today. That is definitely the target, and in the sprint a minimum of top 5. I think he'll try and extend it even further when we go into the feature race. And well, as he makes his way on around there, he's also talking about the fact that with the Silverstone races being postponed as of last week due to the technical issues with regards to the iRacing servers, he's very glad to be able to have Russell Fowler join him on the grid today. And of course he does also have what is his teammate out there in the form of Russell Fowler, and also his other colleague in the Silver Class, whose name does escape me right now, and he immediately comes back as Tom Bingham there. I'm not too forgetful in the commentary booth these days. And as he makes his way on through turns 13 and 14, glad to have the team out on the grid. And well, he was saying with regards to is Russell Fowler, his teammate, the key for him is not to get his knee down, because he does a lot of track data on motorbikes and has done a number of them here at Silverstone. But on a serious note, aim for a class podium and stay ahead of his rival Sergio Gonzalez Martin. And speaking of Sergio Gonzalez Martin, here we can see the Ferrari driver from KFM Motorsport red. In fact, I think it's KFM Motorsport yellow there, given the colorations of the wheels. And as he makes his way on down the wheel rims, in fact, charges his way in towards the braking zone here for turn number 15. On the number 55 driver, got a bit of company in the form of the DRS Esport driver of Albanese tucked in right behind him right now, and I think that will definitely be on his mind. And the fact Albanese is using him as a little bit of slipstream magnet. And in terms of what we're expecting here in qualifying, well, given this is a high downforce, high-speed cornering circuit, we are expecting the Porsches to do very well around here. The Ferraris can go quite strong, but they're better suited normally to the race pace, albeit Gonzalez is proving the opposite there, as he improves to a 2:05, and that puts him 3/10 off of Fowler's provisional pole time. But with the car in particular that everybody needs to watch out for is the McLaren MP412C, and we've only got one of those on the grid in the form of Jamie Dorey. And as he makes way around here, this McLaren incredibly fast at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, but it does require it to be pushed to the utmost. We are expecting the Porsches to really be the common place at the top of the field, and then the Ferraris. Meanwhile, the front engine rear-wheel drive machines such as the BMW M4 and the Mercedes-AMG, they may struggle a little bit by comparison, as whilst they have a lot of straight line speed, they do suffer through the high and medium speed corners by comparison, such as when they make the way into Cops Corner at turn number 9 and also make it to the Beckett sequence. But meanwhile, as we see a new time top in the stands in the Bronx class here, and that's the form of Elwin Sykes, the Chris Shorter Academy green driver here, making his way down under, braking into Village Corner at turn number 3. Well, as he winds his way on through here, definitely right now trying to set the bar quite high compared to his peers today. And we say hello there to Pop Tart in the YouTube chat as well. So a good number of you there getting engaged in the YouTube chat, it would seem. And as he makes his way out of Aintree and on to what is the Wellington Straight right now, well, it's going to be for Sykes. I hope that he can keep that time well above the precipice for his rivals. Great Tiddleston, the second highest bronze driver there, 7.5 tenths off. So right now it's looking good for Elwin Sykes, but a long way to go in this qualifying session. And keep in mind, we still do have the best part of 12 minutes. As he winds his way out to turn number 7, let's take a look at that weather for today. And as we can see on the right side of your screen there, well, track temperature right now relatively cool, 21 degrees centigrade and an ambient of 18 degrees centigrade. So it does mean that this circuit will feel as though it tries to push incredibly hard on the tyres compared to if it was a warmer day at Silverstone on the simulator. And this just gives our drivers a lot of confidence in it. Also means that tyre management will be less of a factor in the sprint race compared to in the feature race, because the left-hand side tyres of the cars do take a lot of load over the course of a given lap, particularly in the medium speed corners and also the high speed corners. Such as we've got one coming up in the form of Stowe at turn at number 15, and when you put all that together, it means the left-hand side tyres do most of the work around here, and therefore it will feel as though for Elwyn Sykes, indeed many of them will just have to keep an eye on that time when they go into the 60-minute feature race later on this evening. But as they make the way on up here, well, in front of me does have the Audi R8 there, I do believe, of what is, unless I'm very much mistaken, I think that is going to be Davide Favo just in front of him. In fact, that's Jorge Santos, my apologies. And as he comes on down into turn 16, 17, well, Santos right now coming on through the braking zones there, and on a lap zone, to be fair. So Santos right now looking to try and improve, so I think it's going to be Elwyn Sykes' improvement lap will be aborted there, as he was purple in subsectors 1 and 3, but does not improve in the end. But as they make the way on to another lap, meanwhile, fastest man overall in the gold class is this guy. It's Benjamin McCluskey right now, who's absolutely charging to a storm on a 159.242 and currently 2.5 tenths faster than Stephan Wessels. Well, McCluskey, to be fair, we know he is a very fast driver when he's all hooked in with the car and the setup, and well, right now it definitely seems though he's looking good, but as soon as I say that, this man shoots back a lap and he's going to be closer to the 59.0, so the 59.111 from Stephan Wessels. And right now Wessels is saying, I think, to everybody, look, we're halfway through qualifying, but I'm trying to put this to bed before all of you can get accustomed to being right at the top and challenging me. But as he makes his way on through, Akram Zinoune goes P4 there, and the Mercedes AMG at 59.943. So the best part of 8 tenths off of the pole man's time right now. But those lap times are continuing to improve from our drivers. But meanwhile, we do look to another driver out there in the form of James Matezgal, and the Aztec Racing driver in the more traditional Aztec Racing at livery that we've come to know at love and see. He makes his way out of the final corner, and what's it going to be? As he comes on through, he sets his first lap time that's valid of this qualifying session. It's a P6 in bronze on a 202.409. Well, a lot of drivers will be targeting the 2-minute flats in the silver and bronze classes. That'll be their ultimate goal. I mean, on the gold class, the aim is to set a 159 as soon as you possibly can. Those drivers that make the way on around here. Well, Efil asking there, how are we doing today? I'm doing very well, thank you, Efil. And well, I must admit, I was absolutely heartbroken when we couldn't go racing last week here at Silverstone, given the fact this is an absolutely wonderful circuit, a circuit quite close to home, albeit not the closest one in terms of where I live in the United Kingdom, but it is one I've visited on a number of occasions. And well, I tell you one thing, I think everyone was gutted not to go racing, so the fact we're back here today is absolutely fantastic for our drivers, and it will give them a huge boost now our championship is back and very much alive. But as Matezgal makes his way out to turn number 7 into Woodcock Corner at turn at number 8, very shortly we're going to get an on board with one of our drivers, and in fact I think today's on board will be with Gavan Gardener as he makes his way out of the final corner here and takes us on to a flying lap with the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. So coming out of the final corner and onwards towards turn number 1 he goes, and as he heads in towards the opening corner, let's listen in. A dab of the brake there and drops down a 4th gear as he comes on through Abbey and in up to final corner at turn number 2. As he gets ready to brake now into Village, coming down all the way from the 100-metre board there down to 1st gear, takes the apex curve quite aggressively, brings the car to the right hand side for turn number 4, and as he goes through a loop hairpin in now, starting to loop back on itself and building up through the gearbox there, avoiding any potential wheel spin as he makes sure not to trigger the traction control system as well, going up through Aintree, flat out now, all the way up towards where it's turned number 6 into 7, looking over to his right side for his brake mark here, and we'll break in at 154, but in fact I think calling this lap down as he just trail brakes as well in. And we're going on through the left-hander and going into the right-hand now at turn number 7. This may not be the fastest lap for Gardener, but it can give us an idea of a lap of the Silverstone circuit as he makes his way now. And going now up towards what we turn at number 9. Flat out for the right-hander, Woodcock Corner, and up towards Cox Bend. You'll see he'll straight line the car over to the left-hand side here, riding the entry curve on the left-hand side, doing his brake marker and braking the 100-metre board down to 4th gear. Throws the car into the corner, and as he makes his way out here, flat out now, all the way out to Maggot's Corner at turns 10 and 11. Now bring the car over to the right, he'll go flat out into the left-hander, then dab the brake, drop a gear into the right-hander, before dropping another gear down to 3rd gear as he goes into 12, then into 13. Nice early apex there, use the apex curve to rotate the car through. In fact, goes for a slightly early apex compared to what he would like to, I think, there, as the car understeered a bit wide. He's therefore not able to return to full throttle as soon as possible as he made his way into the chapel. But now flat out, down the hanger straight here, heading up towards top gear. He can't quite reach top gear here, braking from 5th gear, down to 3rd gear, the 100-metre board for Stowe Corner. As he comes on through the right hand and now down the hill he goes, down the Vale in towards turn 16 and 17 into the chicane. braking just before the 100 metre or braking about 120 metres of corner apex left into right here. It keeps the car very far to the left, will snap into the right hander at turn number 17. Flat out now through the right hander at turn number 18 at club to complete the lap. And that is a lap of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit for Gavan Gardener. I think we may have called him on a bit of a cool down lap there, indeed the 202.749. Definitely Gardener giving us an idea of how to go round the lap smoothly, albeit not as quickly as perhaps our leaders right now or his personal best time, but still I think many of us would say that was a very fast lap all in its own right in terms of what we'd like to achieve in the simulator. But as he makes his way on to potentially an even fast lap, one driver right now who's looking to try and go very fast indeed is this man, in which your defending bronze champion, Jordan Baybois, as he makes his way through turn 1 into 2. And with Baybois right now currently 4 tenths off Elwin Sykes' pole time. That provisional time standing at a 2-minute flat .734. Meanwhile, Baybois currently in a 2:01.16. So he's still got some time to find out, and he's only got a 10th of that off at Nigel Stock. And Nigel Stock is closing in terms of the fact you've got a BMW Ferrari BMW combination in terms of your top 3 in the bronze class. And well, right now, I think Nigel Stock would love to put it onto the front row of that bronze class alongside Sykes if he can, but we've still got some time to go here, just over 5 minutes to qualify, and therefore anything can happen before this is all said and done. But as Baybois winds his way out of turn at number 7, any surprises is the big question out there in these qualifying orders so far. Well, perhaps the biggest surprise of all is the fact we haven't seen a lap from Joe Newman as of yet in the gold class, indeed the Audi R8 LMS driver yet to set a lap, and indeed in the pit lane currently, and I think as a result having some difficulty. We are also hearing that Jan Crack will not be joining us on the grid today. He's not quite able to make tonight, so therefore he's wishing everybody the best of luck from what we're hearing down in the paddock. But as our drivers wind the way charge on through, will we also just check in with race control, and no further information with regards to any other potential happenings here, so things are relatively stable right now. But in terms of those surprises, which should be no surprise that we do have a bit of a shootout going on at the top of the silver class, with Sergio Gonzalez Martin currently leading the way in the battle for silver pole position, only 1.5 tenths clear of Russell Fowler, the KFM Motorsport driver here, who's the centre of your attention on your screen, making his way out to turn at number 7 there, and onwards towards 8, and the Ferrari driver right now trying to push on 159. He's only a tenth or so off of a 59, and if he can get it, that will be a very high benchmark for Fowler to respond to, as Gonzalez makes his way into Cops Corner. And keep in mind, a lot of rubber has now been laid down the circuit as a result of the qualifying session that's ongoing. Track temperatures also starting to rise a little bit. It will mean this track surface is going to become a little bit grippier by comparison with when it started, and this is where we'll see those ultimate lap times starting to come in. Also, fuel in a good number of cars now will be low if they haven't set it up low to begin with, and combine it all together, it will make the racing interesting. As we say hello there to Luco in the YouTube chat, and well, as we see Gonzalez making his way on down the back straight, well, he'll be saying hello very shortly to Stoke Corner. But as he gets ready to go into the braking zone there, we do cut from him to one driver right now who's definitely having some difficulty in this qualifying session, and that is none other than Matt Shorter, as we do see the 7th place gold driver here, provisional standings. Well, he's effectively what will be P9 overall, and in fact we show you those overall standings in this qualifying session. That's how all the grid will line up currently when they all intermingle together. So remember, qualifying is for overall position, not for class position here, and right now Matt Shorter definitely feeling as though he's going to have 2 silver drivers in front of him, and with those silver drivers of Gonzalez and Fowler could definitely approve to essentially block his progress at the start of the race if they end up fighting and cause him to have to wait behind. And that's one thing that right now Shorter will want to try and improve upon, as he wants to try and cut his way on through. Tristan Engelstad moves up to P9, puts himself in front of Matt Shorter as well, on a 2-minute flat .338. So therefore Engelstad definitely demonstrating right now that he is the third contender in terms of that silver trio. Well, Gonzalez and Fowler really have been the headline catchers, and Engelstad also trying to get involved there as the Quad Dash Racing driver carries on. But meanwhile, Shorter comes across the line. Can he improve this time around? No, he cannot. But meanwhile, Victor Shimura and also what is there, I do believe, Nigel Stock both improving. And as they continue to gain ground, well, the lap times continue to come in from our drivers here, and Engelstad definitely finding some time to improve for Quad Dash Racing as he comes on through the left into right here, turns 6 and 7. And that Mercedes AMG being made to work in the silver class, but we said earlier it is a car that we're not expected to do too well here. But right now, Engelstad trying to prove the opposite, the same essentially for Akram Zinoune, who is currently P5 in the overall and gold categories. But as Gavan Gardener leaves the pit lane, as I look at my commentary booth window, he's going to give it one last shot in qualifying. He has one lap in order to try and put it on pole in the gold class. He's currently half a second off of Stephan Wessels this time. McCluskey improves in P2 to 59.228, but it only puts him what is there, 117 thousandths off of Stephan Wessels this time, but it's not enough to get him close to taking that pole position right now. So definitely it seems though Wessels has laid down the marker that's nobody able to beat. But meanwhile, we do have the birthday man joining very late in the day here. We've been able to put the birthday celebrations aside in order to join in qualifying. He'll get one lap in here. It's none other than Sean Scudder, your bronze championship leader in the BMW M4. And welcome to the CSA Blue driver. Now, what can he pull off with the one lap he gets here? Can he pull off potentially a one lap miracle and put himself on par? Where if he does, so that's going to be one lap magic and then some, and birthday wishes that are going with it. But meanwhile, we've also got making his way out. He's been able to get the car back out. It is the Aztec Racing driver of Jake Pitt there in the Ford GT. And when we got to see the venerable American machine on the field as it makes its way around with its 6-cylinder engine, an absolute monster on the straight, but it lacks it in the corner, so it is going to be quite heavy. But as he makes his way into his turn 6 and 7 right now, definitely I think Pitt will just hope we can get a good lap on the board and his hardware issues do not come back to plague him. With just under a minute to go now, all of our drivers trying to set their final best possible laps in this qualifying session. More the Ford GT here of Pitt is on an out lap. In fact, he won't have enough time to get around in order to be able to put in a flying lap, but it will validate his position on the grid, and it will mean it will start ahead of some other drivers potentially. But coming back to Sean Scudder, he's making his way right now through Maggots into Beckett, and as he comes on through, will he be able to find a way to be able to potentially get himself right up in the bronze class? But to do it in a single lap, that is going to be a hard task to be able to achieve, given the fact that normally the tyres do take the best part of what is there 2 laps in order to get warmed up. As he comes through the right hand there of turn number 15 and down towards 16, 17 he goes. Alfonso Marin P6 there in the silver class. He does improve on his lap time, but he doesn't find a way to go higher in terms of positions. But here comes Scudder, then he's going to the first tries to wrap up his qualifying session. Oh, hey, Santos has just crossed the line as well, and Santos did not improve as far as I'm aware. Sebastian Scout has improved meanwhile, but as we do see Scudder coming across the line, he goes P4. There was one and only lap. It's a second off of the bronze crucial pole time, but he'll still be quite pleased with that. We also do have making his way around right now Jake Pitt. Well, this will be an out lap. Will it be classification when he comes on through? I believe it will be. It'll put him as classified as starting last in the bronze class and on the overall grid. We've also got a couple more drivers making the way on around, including Akram Zinoune. And as he comes on through the right hand here of what is turn number 18 and across the line, well, what's it going to be for Zinoune as he crosses? It is going to be there P6 at best, with what is there Jonathan Cook moving up into P5 in the gold class, and Mio Tristan Engelstad, well, he's moved up to P2 silver, made some further ground, and well, now could we potentially see any more surprises in this qualifying session with Gavan Gardener still on a lap here? In fact, he's cooling down. He's called it quits with regards to his qualifying session. Matt Shorter makes his way out of the final corner. Can he improve? Improves in subsector 1 and 4, but as he makes his way across the line, he improves in terms of time, but he does not improve with regards to position on the grid. So P8 overall is the best that he can do, and P7 in gold class. And we do also have Gaz Williams making his way on around. He's going to be one of our final drives to set a lap time. And as he comes on through, what's it going to be here for Gaz Williams? He goes P3 on a 59.480, and well, that moves him up there to a degree ahead of Gavan Gardener. So Williams will feel as though he's crept in at the death of the session. Alfonso Marin, meanwhile, makes his way out the final corner, as does Alex Rogenbach. And well, Rogenbach right now, P10 bronze stays there. Marin stays P6 silver, and he improves his lap time to a 2-minute 0.708, but he does not, however, find his way into the top 5 of the silver class. So the hero of Germany last time out, well, today he's not been able to repeat those heroics, and that is qualifying complete, ladies and gentlemen. Well, as you can see, it's Stephan Wessels and over on gold pole. P6 will be to your silver pole sitter, Sergio Gonzalez Martin, and he has got 3 spaces between himself and Tristan Engelstad. And the next silver class driver starts P9, and then P13 is going to be your bronze pole sitter, with Nigel Stock only a 10th if that off of him. It's Elwin Sykes who's on bronze pole there, but we have a 7th row that's locked out for the bronze class, and we could see some absolute action going into turns 1, 2 and 3. But as our drivers get set and ready to race, we can see Cup then the YouTube chat, i.e. Jake Pitt, confirming that he's been able to fix his issues and he's going to try to race, but he may have to retire early. And we're very sorry to hear that, Cup, but at the same time, or Jake I should really say, but it's glad to hear that you're able to make it onto the grid, and we hope to hear that Ford GT Raw, even if it's just for the sprint race today. But as all of our drivers now get themselves prepared for that transition to make the way in to our first race, well, who is going to pull off the surprises in our sprint? Let's find out. So as the grid is set, this is how they line up for race 1 of round 6 of the NXTGEN Racing GT3 League Season 4, brought to you on iRacing. Stephan Wessels takes pole position for CSA Pink, that's pole overall, and in the gold class, joined on the front row by NXTGEN Racing Team Purple's Benjamin McCluskey. Behind him on row number 2, it's Gaz Williams for NXTGEN Racing Team Purple, joined by what is their teammate Gavan Gardener starting P4, and there is Jonathan Cook who starts P5. That on the third row of the grid for Performance Link Esports, and he finds himself being joined by Sergio Gonzalez Martin, the KFM Motorsport yellow silver pole sitter. Behind the Spaniard is the combination Akram Zinoune for KFM Motorsport red and CSA Green's Matt Shorter, and then the top 10 is completed by the silver pair Tristan Engelstad for Quad Dash Racing, and Performance Link Esports is Russell Fowler. David Camano starts P11 for the KFM Motorsport red, joined on the 6th row by Jamie Doe for NXTGEN Racing Team Team Pink, I should say, and then behind them and will be on at row number 7, Elwin Sykes for CSA Green, your bronze pole sitter, who is joined on the 7th row by fellow bronze class driver Crest Autosports Nigel Stock. On row number 8 is Victor Shimon, starts P15 for the KFM Motorsport Yellow, joined by DRS Esports is Stephen Albanese Senior, while Alfonso Marion starts in P17 for KFM Motorsport Red, and he's joined by the privateer of Jordan Baybois on P18, and completing the top 20 it's Nestor de la Fuente for KFM Motorsport Yellow, joined by CSA Blues Sean Scooter P20. Outside the top 20, P21, it's Craig Tillerston, FR20 Sim Racing, who's joined on row 11 by NXTGEN Racing Team Red Mark Sykes. And then we do have James Mansescal starting P23 for Aztec Racing, joined on the 12th row by Wesley Lewin for CSA Pink. Then we have on row at number 13, David A. Farber for CSA Blue, joined by the privateer Alex Rogenbuck. And then we have on row number 14, the privateer of Jorge Santos, the last driver to put a valid lap in this qualifying session. And he is joined by Daniel Smith for Aztec Racing, who starts P28 on his debut. P29 is Jake Pitt for Aztec Racing, the Welshman that starts on the 15th row, joined by Joe Noon for Empire Motorsport. And Luke Eagleton starts P31 of 31 drivers, and on that 16th row, last but not least. But as all our drivers gradually begin to pull off here and get themselves set and ready to go racing today, well, we do refresh the overlay to get our circuit map back in the top right corner of your screen, because we don't want it to hide, and other drivers get ready to go. Well, who is going to be the one who's going to dictate the flow into turn number 3? That's going to be the pinch point in terms of that opening battling. Well, Stephan Wessels will be the lead driver, and they've been told the start time for today is coming out of the final corner onto the start-finish straight, so it is going to be tight. It's going to be close for the last couple of quarters, but Stephan Wessels will dictate the pace, and we get ready to go for 20 minutes of racing here at Silverstone. As he makes way out the final corner, it's lights out and away we go for our first race of the day. Stephan Wessels gets a good start, but Benjamin McCluskey looking around the outside, looking over to the left there. We do have with David Camano looking up the inside of a multitude of drivers. Side by side, the leaders make the way into the opening couple of corners here. They're still side by side down to the braking zone. Constantino effective motion out as they come down hard on the brakes. It's going to be McCluskey around the outside of Wessels, but as they make the way through, they're still side by side going up into loop hairpin. Neither one wants to give out. McCluskey will take the lead of this race as they come through turn number 4. Behind Gavan Gardener, that's the hold of Gaz Williams, followed up by Jonathan Cook and Sergio Gonzalez. Gonzalez Martin making a good start there, holding on to P6, but now they roll the way down the Wellington straight, and as they do, further back, David Camano still battling side by side with Russell Fowler. He's gained one place, now making his way up behind Jamie Dory here as they make the way into the braking zone for turn number 6. We want an instant further back, and nasty instant. I think Sean Scooter involved that instant, to name a couple of drivers. We'll take a look back at that in due course. But as our drivers weave the way through, we've got 3 wide there, and I believe for a brief moment, Jonathan Cook trying to get involved, but it's now going to be, what is that, Gardner versus Williams as they make the way out of turn number 7. Williams on the inside, Gardner on the outside. They come through Woodcock corner, and as they head up towards turn number 9, well, right now these two are really going to cause a gap to the top 2 of the field. As you can see, the McCluskey and Wessels breaking away, but side by side they go into Cott's Bend. Cooks get very close behind Gardner there as they make the way through, and Jonathan Cook can't find a way through, but Gardner here trying to come back versus what is there, Williams down into Maggots now as they come into the braking zone. When in the end they go at line astern for a time being. Further back, James Mansescal there, who you can see running in P20, P4 in bronze. He's trying to battle his way with Nestor de Fuente, but he has stayed behind the Aztec Racing drivers. They come down. We've got a wounded Ferrari in the rear of the picture. I believe that may be the Ferrari of what is Mark Sykes there, just struggling on through. But meanwhile, we've got a car going around there, and that's Aztec Racing's Daniel Smith, the silver class driver, who's got it very, very wrong. And I think Wesley Lewin also being picked up in that instant. Alex Rogenbuck, in fact, to correct ourselves. And meanwhile, Jake Pitt making his way on down the back straight here as they head up towards the next braking zone. But meanwhile, looking to the leaders, which Benjamin McCluskey, who comes down in to the Val chicane, going through turn number 16, and right now Wessels immediately behind him as they come through turn 17 and 18 to complete the first lap of the day, and on to lap number 2. So after to 1 lap of race, and it's Benjamin McCluskey who leads out of Stephan Wessels P2, Gaz Williams P3 ahead of Gavan Gardener P4, Jonathan Cook P5, Silver leader Sergio Gonzalez P6, and a Matt Short to P7, Akram Zinoune P8, followed by Jamie Dory P9, and then it's Stoke Commando completion top 10. Best SP element is Russell Fowler, and then your bronze leader is Elwyn Sykes still in P13 as he stayed clear of Nigel Stock, who's fallen quite a way back as they all now make the way into turn number 3 for the second time of asking. And Jordan Babois looking for the move on the inside of Stock under braking it, can't quite find it, and instead now gets caught out with the fact he has got the pressure of Fuente coming up behind him. Fuente goes for a lunge on the inside, has to back out there before he taps the rear of the Frenchman. And as they come through the left-hander here, charging on through, well, right now it does look as though the driver's going nose to tail as they charge their way down towards turn number 6, and no change between them as they roar their way into the next braking zone. But as they go in towards turn number 6 right now, John Babois trying to find a way back versus what is there, Nigel Stock. We've got Jamie Dory off the road, the McLaren driver recovering, but definitely in a spin. They're going into turn number 6, and we'll try and get a replay of that very shortly. Looking for that David Farber here, trying to go a little bit wide around the outside of Dory, but in return, now it's going to put him off racing line, and Craig Tillotson now up the inside here going into Woodcock Corner. This is a P4 in the bronze class with Dory really causing these bronze tries to all bunch together. Wesley Lewin just behind. Lewin looking for the move here, and Tillotson coming into Woodcock Bend. Can't quite find it. In fact, that was Farbo looking for the move, we should say. Lewin just tucked in behind, correcting ourselves, and Jay Pitt looking for the move in return as we jump on board here with the Ford GT driver who switches from one side to the other, trying to throw the dummy here for looking for P6 in the bronze class. But the Ferrari driver of Lewin just keeping her bay as they make the way down towards the braking zone for what is there the Beckett's corner. Coming through turn number 13, the Ford GT will have a lot of speed here, but a lot of oversteer as well. Tank slapper as he comes out of the corner and tries to build the speed back up right now. But as he does so here, building it up towards the crescendo, charging in towards turn number 15, going into the brakes very shortly for Stowe corner. And Jay Pitt missing out an opportunity there as he makes his way around the long right-hander here and down towards the last 3 corners of the lap, but going even wider there and losing some time now. And the Ford GT driver throwing everything he can at this, but I think right now just needs to settle down and get himself back in the river, as he was close but wasn't close enough to try and adventure for the move. As they make their way on to another lap, well, meanwhile Elwyn Sykes sets a new fastest lap. It's faster than the fastest lap of the silver class, and that's why you've seen the bronze tries jump up into the second row of our timing tower. But as our drivers make their way through and on to lap number 3, well, meanwhile we take a look back at what happened at the start of the race, and in particular what happened to Sean Scudder. Well, this was coming out of what was turn number 5, Aintree, and losing the rear end of the car, and contact there, I think, with Mark Sykes, who made his way on through. We will try and take another look back at exactly how that incident played out, and we'll try and get the onboard from Sean Scudder's perspective here. Well, the CSA Blue Drive being swamped going through the loop, and as he gets from the power here, the car a little bit unsteady by default, comes up through Aintree, very tight entry angle there, taps the grass, that sends the car around, and he's pushed on his way by the Ferrari that came up behind him and made contact. And well, for Sean Scudder, a disastrous start to his day. And meanwhile, we take a look back at what happened to Daniel Smith later on in the lap, on the open lap, and this was the Aztec Racing driver making his way down in to Beckett's, taps the rear of Tillotson's car, the rear of the car lets go and just drifts to a standstill there. And James Smansexgow you can see going round there, and was Smansexgow involved in a similar incident of his own doing, or was he tapped? Well, we take a look at the exterior cameras here, and this was the Aztec Racing BMW M4, comes through the corner, and as he does so, taps through the KFM Motorsport BMW in front, and I think that might just unsettle the weight balance of the car and cause it to over-transfer and around. But then we did have the incident for Jamie Doran on lap number 2, and what happens to the MP4 12C McLaren driver here, battling side by side with, I think that was Akram Zinoune, well, not 100% sure, came into the braking zone, and it looked as though that was quite a significant piece of netco contact between the 2 cars, and in the end, Jamie Doran going on around. We believe that might have been Akram Zinoune, we're not 100% sure on that, but definitely Jamie Doran having a bit of a moment there, and well, a difficult one, and a bit frustrating one, all the same. But as we return to your live pictures now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll park the replays for a brief moment. We look back up to the very front of the field, and these are your 2 race leaders right now, of Benjamin McCluskey being chased by Stephan Wessels. And keep in mind that Wessels did put it on pole, but McCluskey got the better run of the line as they make the way on through what is their turn number 3 into 4. Well, the problem for McCluskey right now is the fact that whilst he's been able to stay ahead, one thing we've seen from McCluskey over the last couple of rounds is he's able to match Wessels' pace at the start of the race. But where Wessels has the advantage, he seems to be able to maintain his pace at that higher level for longer, and therefore McCluskey has no normally dropped off in the final 5 minutes of these sprint races. We'll have to wait and see whether the 28 driver can make some magic happen. As me, or speaking of magic, that is driving Cook up the inside of Gavan Gardener for P4 as the unfortunately esports driver makes more progress here and coming on through, tucked in now behind Gaz Williams. Contact there with Williams, they both go around. Gardener takes evasive action and it's a disaster there. So everyone has to go the long way around the outside of the two cars, and Cook getting a bit too close for comfort behind Williams, and in the end making contact, and both drivers going around. An innocent mistake to make. Well, I think Williams might want a word after today's race, but as they make the way up towards turn number 1, Williams going a bit slowly here to get himself back up to speed. Indeed, that sliding will have overheated the tyres, and Cook falls down to P8, whereas Williams falls down to P6 in the gold cars. So both drivers there in a bit of a difficult moment, but meanwhile from them we do have Jordan Babois, who has recently been passed by Craig Tillotson, and the two Ferrari drivers here exchanging information as they make the way down towards turn number 10-11. And it does look as though here that Tillotson, he's just got a bit more pace in the car at this point in the race, as the yellow Ferrari head of the red one of Babois as they make the way down through turn number 13 to 14, going out onto the Chapel corner very shortly. And as they do, well, Babois incredibly close, but he gets way too close there going through Chapel, and I think that's going to spoil the run he deserves going up towards turn number 15. Indeed, he earned the craft, but right now just not going to be able to find the move on the inside here as they make the way into Stowe corner, and Mio Father and Lewin are behind, and so is Jake Pitt there. So they're all starting to queue up, but meanwhile, speaking of queues here, well, right now we've got two wide coming into the braking zone for the Val chicane, and that's Alfonso Marin defending after Kevin Motorsport red, with Jonathan Cook just behind. Jamie Dory also there, and well, right now the number 3 driver here of Alfonso Marin, well, he is a silver class driver here, 2 golds followed up by 5 bronze drivers, and I think he's definitely fallen a bit of a traffic jam here. And well, the United Kingdom known for its traffic on its motorways, and right now we're seeing a bit of traffic on the road, albeit Alfonso Marin wants to hold on as best he possibly can here as they make the way in towards turn number 3, but I think Cook may have other ideas. He looks around the outside, Marin defends on the inside, but Cook's going to go all the way around outside to inside into the loop. He tries to go for it on the brakes, but the BMW not the strongest on the brakes, but he gets the spot there on the inside. Marin gives the door, lets it go open, and now Dory's going to look through on the inside here as they make their way through Aintree onto the Wellington Straight they go, and that McLaren charge on through as well. It's been released. Meanwhile, up the road from them, we are hearing that we have had a change of position for what was Elwin Sainz and Nigel Stott, but we're trying to get confirmation of that. In fact, I think it was just a glitch in our timing tower, but what we can tell you is that Davide Favo, meanwhile, has fallen on behind Nestor De Fuente here, and I think Davide Favo and Wesley Lewin involved in a bit of an incident between the two of them at was the loop hairpin, and in fact we can get an immediate replay of what happened. This was coming down into turn 3 initially under braking here, and Favo going a bit deep but brings it back together, and then into the braking zone for what was the loop hairpin, and tapped there by Wesley Lewin, the two teammates in contact, and Will Lewin immediately parking it up, very unfortunate. And also we got to see there Mark Sykes having to wait his turn, and there's the confirmation of the Next Gen Racing Team Red driver who was involved in that incident with Sean Scudder earlier on, albeit in the wrong place at the wrong time for Mark Sykes, and well, nothing he could do about that on lap number 1, but he is now trying to make amends to it. He makes his way back up through the order. We return to your live pictures then, ladies and gentlemen. Halfway point to the race reached, and this is Alex Rogenbach who's trying to find his way up past High Santos, and well, these two rivals from the Nürburgring, indeed they were fighting hard for that 3rd place on the podium, and it went the way of Rogenbach in the end. But from them we must look back up to Russell Fowler versus Tristan Engelstad, as Engelstad here taking his first attempt at passing Russell Fowler as they make the way on through the Vale and onto Club, onto another lap they go. And as we look back from the rear here of the Force Eastwood BMW M4, with the menacing German grille there of the Mercedes AMG Evo, Tristan Engelstad that's looking threatening as they wind their way in towards the hairpin village. On the inside, however, is going to come Gaz Williams, and that is going to put this battle at a bit of a stop as they come out to the right-hander into left-hander of the loop. But you notice there right now Engelstad is very eager to make sure that Williams does not come on through. He wants to push Williams backwards towards Victor Shimara, who's a gold class driver as well, and therefore Russell Fowler has been bought a whole second's worth of time here as they make the way up towards turn number 6, and Engelstad right now will not be happy with this. Williams will not be happy because he's not able to make progress, but remember, they are allowed to fight one another even though they're in different classes. There's no rule that says you can't fight. I think both drivers here have got their own amends to try and make in terms of their aims in the field, and both of them want to make progress, but they have got different ideas of what that progress looks like. But as Engelstad here makes his way out of the turn and never turn it into 8, well, right now he's got Victor Shimara behind as he has let Williams go in the end, and we say hello there to Billy Goboy, who I suspect Crystal Autosport will be cheering on this man, your leader in the bronze class here, but Nigel Stott, who has recently found his way up past Elwin Sykes, the leader of the class. Elwin Sykes just behind as he runs wide. They're coming through turn number 9, and so you may be asking, how did Nigel Stott take the lead of the bronze class? Well, here's a replay explaining the story. and it was in the run down the hanger straight up towards Stowe Corner. Under brake he went, and as he did so, well, the Crystal Autosport driver absolutely cruising through that. A sublime pass, and what we know, love and want to always see for Nigel Stock, and indeed as he makes his way into turn number 16 there, getting the job done. And Sykes, I think, to be fair, will be focusing on that P2 rather than trying to push too hard for the win here, for the simple reason it's great points if he does take that class P2 all the same. But meanwhile, car off there going down into the Vale, and there's Matt Short who's gone round, and we're not quite sure what the story is there. We'll see if we can get a replay of that as he rejoins. He just gets the car out of the way in time, albeit going onto the braking line for the Vale chicane, so not the best place to rejoin for Matt Shorter. But the question is, when he's turning the car around, what else can he do? As he makes his way through turn 17 to 18, the CSA Green driver definitely find that Silverstone being a pain. And well, speaking of pain for another driver, this is Elwin Sykes being passed by Jonathan Cook. The gold driver gets on through, and Nigel Stock is just disappearing up the road now for Elwin Sykes. But again, I think the CSA Green driver is more focused potentially on just taking the second place and getting some major points in the championship rather than panicking about winning. He will lose the championship position of P2 in the championship to Nigel Stock as a result of this second place finish. But then again, we've got another race day. You never know what can happen in that, so let's not count it over before it's all said and done. But as we make our way now onto what is now going to be only 7 minutes remaining plus the final lap, and we've seen a lot happening in amongst the midfield, but what about the front of the field? And well, here are your top 2 drivers still, McCluskey versus Wessels, and nothing between these two right now. They have been pumping out the laps incredibly consistently, and to put it in the perspective, ladies and gentlemen, these two guys, minus Gavan Gardener in P3, are the only drivers lapping in the 59s. Everybody else is in the 201s or the 202s. These guys are lapping 1.5 seconds faster on average than most of the field. They are pushing one another every step of the way. It's phenomenal to see. And as they make their way up towards turn number 15, well, right now, who out of the two of them is going to be the winner coming in? This McCluskey wants to take that win, understandably so. In fact, he wants to put a marker down versus Wessels, but Wessels constantly waiting in the wings, looking for a peek there into the Vale. He can't quite find it right now, just has to wait his turn. But it's the battle of the two Porsches here, and the Porsche 992, a very strong machine, but also whilst it is a lot more stable compared to its 991 Mark II counterpart, it still does have that innate rear end on the Porsche, which it does have a lot of rotation, but it's also very easy to oversteer the car. But as they make the way onto another lap, going on to lap number 8 in this race, meanwhile we look a bit further behind them very shortly to Russell Fowler, Gaz Williams and also Tristan Engelstad. Indeed, we cut back there now. And you can see the problem for Russell Fowler at this point is he's stuck behind Devin Camano, and Camano right now really proven to be a bit of a rolling roadblock in the Lamborghini Huracan Evo, albeit that could be considered a bit of an unfair statement there, but it's meant in a positive way in the fact that he's proving to really frustrate Fowler, in fact forcing Fowler once again backwards towards Williams. Engelstad just there as well, and the Mercedes AMG driver right now, I think as we jump on board with him, we just want Williams to get out of the way. He wants Williams to go past Fowler to bring Fowler to him, because Engelstad right now has got the pace, we believe, to take on Fowler and even David Camano. But the problem is he has got a stubborn gold class driver in front who wants to make further progress himself. Williams in his right, as Engelstad a bit late on the brakes there and just misses tapping the wheel of Williams' car, but has to let the car overextend under braking. But Engelstad there, I think, having his heart in his mouth for a brief moment in the fact that almost missed his braking zone. But again, I think just trying to extract an ability to get back ahead of Williams. I'm trying to get a message through to Williams, which is get a move on. I've got a race to go for here. And right now, as they make their way up towards turn of Victor Shimaro, who's stuck behind Engelstad, will feel the exact same. He wants to make his way past the Wood-Dash Racing driver, and that's the thing between them, in the fact that right now, when you've got multi-class racing, even if it's the same type of machine, it all ends up being this multitude of classes mixed together, and we'd love to see it for the simple reason it becomes just as tactical in terms of who you pass and when you don't choose to let somebody pass. As the drivers make the way up through Beckett's and on to the back straight once again, as they make the way down. Mano here in the Audi-powered Lamborghini, as they charge away up towards turn number 15. That V10 is going to absolutely scream out, and as they make their way into the braking zone, well, Engelstad looking around the outside of Williams, again, just teasing out a potential cutback move here, and trying to say to Williams, getting the message through, look, if you can't get the progress you need to make, then I'm going to make it for you, as they make their way down into the Vale. Williams having to defend a little bit there. Meanwhile, further back, we have got Nigel Stock looking for what is a bit of a defence versus Jonathan Cook. In fact, Cook going up the inside there, and Stock just letting it go, as Elwin Sykes falling a bit further back by comparison. But meanwhile, we had an incident there for Tristan Engelstad, who's gone onto the grass, going into the final corner, and all that progress he was trying to make has been scuppered in the fact, he's dropped to P5 in the silver class. It's released Stephan Albanese senior up into P4 silver. And what exactly has happened is meanwhile Alfonso Marin goes around the outside there. And Marin, who's been struggling in qualifying, moves up into the top 5 of the silver class for the first time in this race. So Tristan Engelstad definitely getting it wrong. But what exactly did he get wrong is the question. And well, here's the replay to find out. Well, he made his way down in to the chicane, hit the first curve there quite high, second curve he misses, goes a bit deep, hits the sausage curve down the exit, drops off the curve, and it sends the car round in suspension. And with the Quad Dash Racing driver there demonstrating what happens when you hit that rather nasty raised exit curve. Indeed, it's there for a reason, to make sure our drivers can't run wide and gain lap time, and Engelstad instead gaining a one-way trip to the grass. As we return to our live pictures, ladies and gentlemen, 3 minutes left on the clock. We did also have an incident earlier on for Jordan at Baybois, albeit we haven't quite been able to get the replay footage of that, but it has seen Baybois drop all the way to P12 in the bronze stars in what is proven to be a difficult opening race day for the Ferrari driver and defending bronze champion. But meanwhile, as we look up here to what is job for Curtin, we've got smoke up, and I believe that's Stephan Albanese senior, who's had a very long run wide coming up through Cox Bend. That's going to drop him all the way down the order. Alfonso Marin and Tristan Engelstad just in front of him now, and then it's going to be Craig Tillotson just behind. So Stephan Albanese senior has had some reverse fortunes very quickly indeed. Well, right now, not the way he'll want this race to go, but he'll know that given if he potentially finishes this low down in the silver class, he'll be starting towards the front of the silver class pack when we go racing in the feature race. So therefore, there's always a silver lining to be had from proceedings. And as he makes his way on down towards turn number 15, well, meanwhile, we look from them back up to your leaders, who've just gone on to what is a 10th lap in. We believe they will get an 11th lap in, given the time remaining, albeit we'll have to wait and see. We actually may be on our final lap right now, but this is McCluskey versus Wessels, and we can see Corporal Collins there in the YouTube chat asking the question, how many races tonight? There's 2 races on the schedule. Corporal Collins, you're watching the first one right now. It's a 20-minute sprint that's only at 1.5 minutes away from its checkered flag, and then we will be having a sizable breather, approximately returning at about 9:10 this evening for the build-up to our 60-minute or our 1-hour feature race, and that'll be race number 2 of 2. We focus here on the battle for the lead now, and as we jump on board with the CSA Pink driver Stephan Wessels, right now definitely getting very furtive with his approaches and on the back of McCluskey here and figuring out moves as they make the way out of turn number 7 into Woodcock Corner they go, and we're going to stay with this battle all the way to the finish as they make the way up towards turn number 9. Now, Wessels doesn't have many places to go for an overtake, really. It's the common places overtaking places now, which will be in the run down the hanger straight up towards Stoke Corner and the run down to the rain zone for Vale. But Wessels getting very close here as they make the way into Maggots. Can he look for a 2-wide run through here? No, he can't. He can only put the pressure on. But now his goal will be to have the better run out of Beckett's corner, and we're going to set up as soon as possible. It turns in a little bit early. The dirty air off of the back of McCluskey's car, upsetting the turn in there. You can see the nose didn't want to point, and as a result, that gap opens up to 3/10 for a brief moment. McCluskey will be under pressure from Toe, but the thing is here, unless Wessels can get an absolutely phenomenal run coming on through Stoke Corner, this is going to be McCluskey's to hold on to as they make their way through the long right-hander. 3 corners to go, 1 major braking zone in accordance, and as they make their way down here in towards turn number 16, I think this will be the checker flag lap, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, the checker flag is about to wave, and McCluskey makes his way through 17, and as he comes up through turn number 18, we wondered if he could do it, but he's done it, ladies and gentlemen. McCluskey takes the win in the gold class and overall had a Stephan Wessels P2, Gavan Gardener P3 there to complete the golden overall podium, and there's going to be 9 seconds until we have Akram Zinoune coming through for P4. He makes his way to the timeline, and then it will be Gaz Williams who comes on through shortly after him in the gold class. But here's your silver class winner, P5 overall. It's Sergio Gonzalez Martin who carries on for Kevin Motorsport Yellow ahead of rival Russell Fowler, who finishes the run-up in the silver class. Then Gaz Williams, Victor Shimura follows on through, and Nigel Stott makes it another bronze class win with a win in the sprint here, 2.5 seconds clear of Elwin Sykes, who makes it P2 in the bronze class. And then Craig Tillotson, with his best performance of the season thus far, takes the 3rd spot on the bronze podium, and a great drive there from the FR20 Sim Racing driver to make his way through and definitely earn it the hard way, it must be said. We then have had Wesley Lewin come through to complete the bronze top 5 P21 ahead of what is Daude Favo. James Mezesgal will come through the final quarter. to go. P7 for Aztec Racing ahead of Alex Rogenbuck, and then it will be Jorge Santos who makes his way on through the last couple of corners very shortly to take what will be P9 bronze and what will be in total P25 overall. And then we'll be seeing after him, I believe it will be Sean Scooter, who, well, on his birthday, definitely not getting his birthday wish so far for a win here at the Silverstone circuit. Remember, he's got one more race to go as he makes his way. Oh, goodness me, and that car is heavily wounded for the CSA blue team. And I think he's struggling to get the cars in. He'll try and do so. He has got Jake Pitt coming up behind him, and right now, well, Pitt in the Aztec Racing 4 GT will try and take this top 10 off a Scooter before all is said and done. Definitely some damage on that BMW M4 as they make over the last two quarters, but it's very hard to overtake in these quarters, and I think Scooter will hold on for P10 in the bronze class just ahead of Jake Pitt at the line. So that's how they'll finish, ladies and gentlemen, and Jordan Baybois and Daniel Smith both finishing a bit further down in terms of being a lap down respectively. And well, that is it in terms of the finishes of this race, as we do see McCluskey making his way into the pit lane. Stephan Wessels just in front of him, and Gavan Gardener just behind him, flanked by the lower portions of the podium. And the NXTGEN Racing Team Purple driver absolutely delivering despite the pressure of Wessels, and demonstrating once again why this is a multi-way fight for the Gold Championship. And will Wessels P2, he'll still be happy he's gained ground on Gavan Gardener, but knowing it wasn't quite the win he wanted. And meanwhile, as Nigel Stock gradually makes his way on through here, coming up through turn number 15, will the Crest Autosport driver will have a smile to his face, because those wins keep on coming, and with it, that ability to close down that bronze championship lead, it is coming faster and faster with each and every lap turned. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's take you through those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries. And here are the provisional results for the sprint race of round 6 of the NXTGEN Racing GT3 League Season 4, brought to you on iRacing from the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit today. And you can see there Benjamin McCluskey taking the overall win for NXTGEN Racing at Team Purple by 4 attempts in the end over CSA Pink Stephan Wessels at P2 in a thrilling battle between the two of them for the entirety of the 20 minutes. And they both never dipped out of the 59s. That has been how impressive their pace is. And another man who stayed in the 59s throughout the entire race, Gavan Gardener, who finished P3 there for NXTGEN Racing at Team Pink, and he was a further 3 seconds behind. Akram Zinoune at P4, the KFM Motorsport Red driver. They're not quite on the podium, but still another solid result for the Mercedes AMG driver, ahead of your silver winner, Sergio Gonzalez, who taking P5 overall. The KFM Motorsport Yellow driver will know he's gained some ground on Russell Fowler in the Silver Championship, with the Silver Championship leader finishing just behind him at P6 there for Performance Link Esports, your silver runner-up. And then Gaz Williams at P7 there for NXTGEN Racing Team Purple, with that unfortunate incident mid-race costing him dear, but still he held off Nigel Stock there, who finished P18, and your bronze class winner, and the Crest Autosport driver absolutely delivering in his battle with Elwin Sykes and then charging off into the distance. Jonathan Cook P9 for Performance Link Esports, ahead of David Camano, who completes the silver podium of Gonzalez, Fowler and Camano, finishing P10 there for KFM Motorsport Red. And then best of rest overall P11, Jamie Dory for NXTGEN Racing Team Pink, after that unfortunate incident into turn number 6 cost him dear. It looked like it was a bit of netcode contact with the car of Akram Zinoune, as we to understand it. And then at P12 there, your bronze run-up, Elwin Sykes for CSA Green. He'll be pleased with that. Another great result there. And another podium for the South African driver, ahead of Alfonso Marin for KFM Motorsport Red, Tristan Engelstein for Quad Dash Racing, and the top 15 being rounded out by Stefan Albanese Sr. The DRS Esports try then being followed up by your third and final finisher on the bronze podium of Craig Tillotson for FR20 Sim Racing, his best result of the season, both overall and in the bronze class, and he completes the bronze podium of Stock, Sykes and Tillotson. Now, having covered all of our podium finishers in the overall standings, we're just going to focus on who else finished on the lead lap and who finished a lap or more down. And as we can see, you'd have to go all the way down to P27, Jake Pitt being our last lead lap finisher there for Aztec Racing, and the bronze driver there, I should say, ahead of teammate Daniel Smith, who finished a lap down the end for Aztec Racing. And then looking even further down the stands, we also had to finish a lap down at Jordan Baybois in a disastrous race to open up his time at Silverstone, the privateer from France, and then not able to join us in this race, unfortunately not able to get on the grid. The two drivers, one from Empire Motorsport of Joe Newman, and also the privateer of Luke Eagleman, and we'll hope to see them both on the grid for our second race of the day. We're coming on to the class-specific finishing positions now, starting with the gold class. Benjamin McCluskey, your confirmed winner there by 4 attempts for NXTGEN Racing Team Purple, ahead of CSA Pink Stephan Wessels, and Gavan Gardener completing the podium for NXTGEN Racing at Team Pink. We then had a further 9 seconds behind Akram Zinoune for KFM Motorsport Red, ahead of Gaz Williams for NXTGEN Racing Team Purple. And then outside the top 5 to complete the top 10, Jonathan Cook, Jamie Dory, Matt Shorter, Victor Shimori, and Joe Newman, with Joe Newman being the sole retiree. Coming on to the silver class. And as we can see here, Sergio Gonzalez-Martin taking the win by 4.1 seconds for KFM Motorsport Yellow over Performance Link Esports of Russell Fowler, within a further 7 seconds to David Comano for KFM Motorsport Red, who completed the silver podium. His teammate Alfonso Marin just behind that, P4, and then we can see a further 4 attempts behind it, Tristan Engelstad for Quad Dash Racing to complete the top 5. Outside the top 5, not to be forgotten about, Stefan Albanese Sr., Nestor De Fuente, Daniel Smith, and then the sole retiree of Luke Eaglin, who finished P9 there, but he classified as a non-finisher as he did not complete over half the race distance. And then lastly, coming to the bronze class, and we see that confirmation of Nigel Stott bring your bronze class winner for Crest Autosport by 2.2 seconds over Elwyn Sykes for CSA Green, and then FR20 Sim Racing's Craig Tillotson completing the podium there a further 5 seconds behind. Nils double the gap to Mark Sykes in P4 for NXTGEN Racing Team Red, but another solid top 5 there for the Ferrari driver, who ended up in that unfortunate instant right at the start of the race with Sean Scudder, but I think they'll talk about it after the race and say there was nothing that could be done. Wesley Lewin round off the top 5 there for CSA Pink. Now outside the top 5, Alex Rogenbuck, Jorge Santos, Davide Favo, James Francis Gal and Sean Scudder to complete the top 10. And then outside the top 10, the Aztec Racing driver Jake Pitt, who finished a lap ahead of Jordan Baybois, who was the sole bronze driver to finish a lap down in the end. Well, that was our first race of the day, ladies and gentlemen. We've still got another race to come, and that will be, of course, our second race. That will be the 60-minute feature race, which is due to get underway at approximately 9:20 this evening. But we're going to take a brief breather as I try to get set for the second race, and we'll be back in approximately 10 minutes' time for the build-up to race number 2 and plenty more. So don't go anywhere. You won't want to miss it. We'll see you shortly. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back then for the continuation of round 6 of the NXTGEN Racing GT3 League Season 4 here today in the United Kingdom at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. And we are only approximately 2.5 minutes away from going racing once again here at the infamous home of British motorsport. And what a first race we had with thrills up and down the order. And perhaps one of the big ticket items was the battle at the front of the field between Benjamin McCluskey and Stephan Wessels, which saw McCluskey come away victorious in our first race of the day. But we also got to see quite a bit of drama further down the order, particularly with the bronze class. Seeing a number of drivers who were battling for the top 5 finishes ended up having some difficulty. Davide Fava being no exception to that in the CSA Blue Audi R8. But whereas they fell by the wayside, it was for Nigel Stott, the Crest Autosport driver, to come on home with the bronze class win and carry on that momentum trip, which is seeing him rise to the top of the bronze standings. Well, if things go his way in this feature race, he could be your bronze championship leader going into the penultimate round. And conversely, meanwhile, Sean Scudder, after some early progress being made, an early bit of contact coming out of turn, well in fact an early spin coming out of turn number 5 and going on to Aintree, then confounded by what was some contact. Mark Sykes behind, who had nowhere to go it would seem, with the CSA Blue driver in the end seeing his race torn to tatters before he could even complete one lap. But there's still another race at hand here, and we can imagine the CSA Blue driver will now be all fired up and looking to go back on the offensive. As he makes his way on around here in this practice warm-up session, we look to Néstor de Fuente, the silver class driver for KFM Motorsport Yellow, who enjoyed a relatively good race number 1. We do say hello to a good number of you who joined in the YouTube chat quite recently, including there Michael Price. We also say hello to Elwin 80 Sykes, who is wishing everybody good luck for the feature. Indeed, Elwin on the grid, we wish him the best of luck as well. We also say hello there to Trisseng0507 in the YouTube chat. Says just don't hit the curves, in reference to the fact, and I do believe that's Tristan Engelstad's YouTube account there, in the fact he may have made haste to the curb coming out of what was turn number 17 and well captured the car quite high. We also say hello there to Gianni in the YouTube chat, Gianni Tahar, who's not able to join us today, as I do believe he's at the circuit in real life as well and up to a bit of motorsport activities, but he's tuned in from circuit side. And well, hello to you there, Gianni. I hope you're doing very well, and to everybody tuning in, if you haven't said hello, again, you're very welcome to. Don't be shy, feel free to say hi. We don't bite here in NXTGEN Racing. We've still got plenty more racing coming up in just under 30 seconds time, and well, could we see Stephan Wessels find a way to get back onto the top step of the podium before all is said and done today? Or will we see McCluskey find a way to stay one step ahead of him again? Or could we see another gold driver take the win? And will perhaps the one gold driver of all of them will be looking for redemption in the second race? Will be Matt Shaw to where it all went wrong early on in the sprint race and just not having a strong day here at Silverstone right now? It just does not seem to be comfortable with the car and track combination. As the CSA Green driver makes his way into turn number 4, we're going to be very shortly making that transition to the grid, ladies and gents, with a 60-minute feature. In fact, here we go. Who's going to come out as the winner? Let's find out. As our drivers make their way onto the grid, this is how they'll all line up for the second race of the day. Starting with the gold class, it's Victor Chamorro who starts on pole position for KFM Motorsport Yellow, joined by Matt Shorter for CSA Green. On round number 2, it's Jamie Dory for NXTGEN Racing Team Pink, joined by Performance Link Esports' Jonathan Cook, with Gaz Williams starting P5 for NXTGEN Racing Team Purple, joined by KFM Motorsport Red at Akram Zinoune. On round number 4, it's Gavan Gardener for NXTGEN Racing Team Pink, joined by CSA Pink Stephan Wessels, and then completing the gold order starting P9 is Benjamin McCluskey for NXTGEN Racing at Team Purple. Behind them, it will be then your silver group, starting with P10 Néstor de Fuente, who starts on the silver pole for KFM Motorsport Yellow. He's then followed up on row number 6 by Stefan Albanese Senior for DRS Esports, who has Quad Dash Races Tristan Engelstad for company. And on row number 7, it's Alfonso Marin for KFM Motorsport Red, joined by teammate David Camano. Starting P15 is Russell Fowler for Performance Link Esports, and he'll be followed up there by KFM Motorsport Yellow's Sergio Gonzalez Martin. And then we go on to the bronze class. Starting P17 at the front of the bronze field, it's Jordan Baybois, the privateer, will be hoping for better luck this round compared to Aztec Races Jake Pitt, who starts P18, and then completed the top 20, it's Sean Scudder for CSA Blue and Aztec Races James Massesgal. P21, we'll see Davide Favo lining up ahead of Jorge Santos, the CSA Blue driver, just starting ahead of the privateer, and it'll be P23 for Alex Rogenbach, the privateer, who's ahead of Wesley Lewin, the CSA Pink driver. And then on row at number 13, it'll be Mark Sykes and NXTGEN Racing at Team Red, joined by FR20 Sim Racing's Craig Tillotson, with the final row of the grid being populated by Elwin Sykes for CSA Green and Crest Autosports and Nigel Stark. Well, the field is all set, ladies and gentlemen. I believe Jordan Baybois might be starting from the pit lane, in fact, from what I've gathered. All of our drivers now ready to go iRacing once again. Well, it's time for us to await the lights, and Victor Schommel will take us to the green. As they make their way out the final corner, it's lights out, away we go immediately as the Gavan Motorsport yellow driver goes. We've got a car into the wall there. That's Jonathan Cook, who's had bad luck strike again before he's even been able to make 100 metres. And as they all roar their way through turns 1, 2 and into 3. Well, right now, Shimura being absolutely mobbed. Here's Jamie Dory goes sideways and around. Car into the grass there, but coming spinning back onto the road. Contact, I believe, with one of the Ferraris in Gavan Motorsport yellow. And also, I believe we've seen the Ford GT and Jake Pitt being collected as part of that. It's absolute pandemonium as we've got cars around there as well going into the loop. I believe that may be Stephan Wessels going around. We've got a lot to try and analyse, but meanwhile the front of the field, Matt Shorter and Akram Zinoune absolutely going all in battling here, as it's going to be Matt Shorter on the inside, so it's carnage up and down the field. But right now Shorter goes a bit deep, but the inside into turn number 7. Zinoune trying to go around the outside as they make their way into the right-hander, but Matt Shorter takes the lead of this race, and it's an absolutely dramatic start, a chaotic one if you will, in our second race a day. But Matt Shorter leads now as they make their way into the second part of the opening lap. They've already got a 1.7 second gap to Nesta de Fuente behind, but here comes Akram Zinoune trying to look around the outside, but Shorter comes him off under braking. Meanwhile, further back, Benjamin McCarthy avoiding all the drama, already up to P3 in the gold class here. That's exactly how you want to start the day, and he's got a long way to go in terms of time, but not far to go where he chases down the leaders and tries to make it 2 wins out of 2. But as they all head on down into Beckett's here, we look further back. It's Shane Spencer-Gow who leads the bronze class here for Aztec Racing, with a long line of bronze cars with Sean Scott and Wesley Lloyd and Craig Tillerson behind, with Victor Shimura and Gavan Gardener falling back into the clutches of the bronze drivers. So a lot of drivers displaced, and Victor Shimura loses the rear of the car, we should say, coming on through the right hand and then has to hold the brakes as all the field piles their way on through. But meanwhile, we can see here Gaz Williams looking to make the move at first. Mark Sykes trying to go around the outside, Sykes to the inside there, staying clear of the potential danger. And as they make their way to the braking zone for turn number 15, well, right now, Gaz Williams gains another overall place. But you'll know there's still plenty of progress to be made. This is going to be a long race indeed. But after one lap of race, it's Matt Shorter who leads this race, going on to lap number 2. In the back comes in P2, Nesta de Fuente P3. He's your silver leader in P3 ahead of Stephan Albanese Senior P4, Benjamin McCluskey P5, Derek Cavallo P6, Alfonso Marin P7, Russell Fowler P8, James Vasquez bronze leader P9, ahead of Wesley Lloyd at P10, and in Craig Tillerson, best the rest P3 bronze driver P11 as they make the way through, albeit saying that Craig Tillerson just being passed there by what is Gavan Gardener who makes his way through, and now Gaz Williams going around the outside, under braking in to the village hairpin as they come through at the right hander. Well, right now we've got Stephan Wessels and Jamie Dory in the pit lane, Sergio Gonzalez-Martin in the pit lane as well. So we've had a huge shake-up in the order here in the field, and that has definitely upset for a lot of drivers potential momentum here today, and we'll have to wait and see what exactly is going to come about as time goes on. But as our drivers make the way on down right now, what we can see Gaz Williams here tucked in and trying to chase that Gavan Gardener, but meanwhile Jonathan Cook in the pursuit of what is that Craig Tillerson, and well, meanwhile it's going to be Cook who, after that contact with the wall, carrying on with a heavily damaged car and thinking that he can get the job done here, albeit I wonder whether he might need to make an early intervention to the pits as soon as he possibly can, given the fact that damage will be costing him some time on the straights for the aerodynamic damage. But meanwhile, looking back here to Russell Fowler, Alfonso Marin and Nesta Fuente going from 5th through to 3rd in the silver class here. Fuente right now trying to keep them behind. And well, the two Gavan Motorsport drivers, they will have a mission here, which is in the fact that with Sergio Gonzalez-Martin already in the pit lane, they'll want to try and make sure that Fowler does not make too much progress in order to be able to try and undo all the hard work done by Martin in the first race of the day, and therefore Fowler's championship advantage being cut into. We could reopen it right now, but as they make the way down the hanger straight, meanwhile Akram Zinoune on the inside there of West Back Shorter going on through Stowe Cornet down towards the Vale they go as they make the way into the braking zone here. Well, Shorter trying to come back immediately, can't quite find it, and it is the lead regained for Akram Zinoune after what was an absolutely brilliant battle at the start of the race between the two of them, firm but fair, and Akram Zinoune retakes the lead here after lap number 2. Still plenty of time to go here, but right now both drivers hitting their stride as they make the way onto lap number 3. As we look back from them, Alfonso Marin still looking for the move here versus De Fuente. And well, I think the two are going to swap places here for Kevin Motorsport Red. They're thinking about it. In the fact that Marin does seem to do the faster driver at the moment, the Mercedes AMG, but coming off a racing line there. Russell Fowler's going around the outside, going into village. But you can see there, Marin now to go very deep. He has to force the door open. versus what is Fuente, and now it's going to be 3 wide into the loop, but Fowler backs out there, knowing 3 does not go into 1 of the best of times. James Francisco, your bronze leader, catching up behind this. Fowler on the inside into Aintree, loses the rear of the car, and he's caught out much like Scooter on the opening lap of the first race of the day, just taking too much apex curve, and it drops the rear of the BMW down and causes it to kick out. And right now Russell Fowler will be absolutely kicking himself for what was a golden opportunity here to be pushing for the silver win. He's now going to fall further back. Gonzalez is a lap down effectively on the field, but the problem is that Fowler's just made his job a lot harder compared to where it needed to be. Meanwhile, we've got Craig Tillotson there going around, and that's at turn number 6. As he rejoins, he's dropped out toward the podium spot of the, with the gold, not the gold class, the bronze class, with the gold yellow livery on the car. And as he makes his way out of turn number 7 in towards 8, now he's down to P7 behind where's Elwin Sykes there, and looking to make some further progress. He makes his way up towards turn number 9 to Cops Bend. We jump aboard here with the Ferrari driver as he comes on through, and one unfortunate spin as Sykes there running very deep cut out of the corner. He's got to be careful running wide. If they go too wide, they will be considered to have gained time by the automated iRacing track stewarding system, and therefore they'll be required to give that time back via a mandated slowdown that they must serve within 30 seconds of picking it up. That's 30 as in 30 seconds, so they do have a bit of leeway with it, but still the point is you don't want to slow down if possible. And as they make the way up towards what will be Stowe now, or all the time still in hand here, and well, Craig Tillotson, he's got a long way to go to close up to Elwin Sykes, who does seem to have a bit of an advantage right now as they make the way into turn number 15. As they go through the long right-hander. Meanwhile, Mark Sykes currently running P3 in the bronze class. He's got Nigel Stock, the company just behind him. Into the pit lanes it goes at Sean Scooter, I do believe. So it does look as though there our bronze championship leader. Race number 1 was a disaster compared to what it could have been, and race number 2 is not too much better right now. With the CSA driver will do everything he can to try and bounce back. But he's got a long way to bounce back from here with that very early pit stop. We're only expecting 1 pit stop here today for our drivers to take on fuel. We're not expecting any potential permutations into a 2-stop. So those who've got to make an extra pit stop, they are going to be a significant amount of time down by default, and then they've got to try and find a way to recover that time in the race, or hope that their rivals have a nightmare. But meanwhile, Mark Sykes here, as he pushes on, Nigel Stock closing as they make their way through Aintree Corner, and with that BMW with its menacingly large grille, keep in mind that's the BMW M4 that was introduced in 2022. We'll be seeing an Evo version arriving in the real world of motorsport most likely next year, if not in 2025, as BMW are making some refinements to that front splitter. And meanwhile, the Sykes there splitting hairs in terms of getting it wrong with oversteer coming through turn number 6. Around through 7 they go. It's going to be Stock around the outside in the Crystal Autosport driver, having faith in the machine in terms of gripping up and going around. It's going to be a drag race here for Woodcock Corner, but Stock's already got a nose ahead as they make the way towards the Cops Corner. Now, who's going to back out here? I reckon Sykes may do so, as in fact he tried to keep a nose in, but in the end does lift off there and recognises that he's lost the place, and it's for Stock to take it as they make the way on towards the remainder of the lap. But from them, we looked here to what is, I believe, to the Fuente, and James Francisco in contact, and the bronze leader sent to the grass. Fuente to the right. Oh, goodness me! And I believe, unless I'm mistaken, that was contact there with what's Wesley Lewin, who was sent to the outside with the wayward car next to the Fuente. So it's a disaster for multiple drivers there. We'll have to take a look back at what exactly happened between them. And well, with that, we do now have an opportunity to start getting some replays of what happened, starting with what on earth happened at the beginning of the race for a multitude of drivers, including Jonathan Cook. We'll take a look back to what was that greener flag moment and where it all went wrong for so many drivers, including Cook, right at the start of the race. We look to the blimp camera here. Jonathan Cook getting underway, full throttle here, and squeezed there between what was Dory and I believe the car of Shorten, and in contact across the front of Dory's car. So that was the first incident, and as they made the way into turn number 1, we're going to see a further incident here, and well, nothing so far. It would seem a bit further back. We see Dory losing the car there as he made his way on through, and further drivers making the way into the scene of the incident. So Dory setting off a bit of a chain reaction there as everybody came on down, and in fact we have lost a little bit of the potential replay there of what exactly happened to Jamie Dory. We will try and get a further replay look back of that, to what happened to the McLaren driver. So in fact we take a look from some of the closer cameras here. Loses the rear on cold tyres, turns them through, and the car loose at that point. He's a passenger and well has to hold the brakes, in the end contact with the car. While the Kevin Motorsport yellow cars, Sergio Gonzalez that was, who got picked up. And Gonzalez right into the scene in the instant there as we take a look back from the KFM Motorsport yellow driver's perspective. And as he came on through turn number 2, he'll see there's a lot of smoke. He doesn't know where to go. He's got to place his bets, tries to go the opposite way on lock, and in the end, well, just makes contact with the KFM Motorsport, with the NXTGEN Racing pink car, we should say, and the KFM Motorsport yellow Ferrari having a disastrous start. But then we also had a further incident for Davide Favo as we take a look back here, and I think Favo just trying to avoid everything going wrong under braking, and around the outside he's clipped there by his fellow CSA blue driver. I think that was Wesley Lewin he came into contact with. In fact, no, it was not Wesley Lewin. Let's apologise there. That was, we're not quite sure who it was with. We know there was contact between the two teammates of CSA blue. His centre was going a little bit deep, but it all got very, very tight there through what was the loop hairpin. Stephan Wessels being perhaps the victim of the hairpin the most. And we'll take a look from his perspective here. Exactly happened. So a good run through the village and then going into the braking zone. Oh goodness me, he was crowded there by the KFM Motorsport BMW that came lunging on the inside, and well, Vessels in contact with Gaz Williams and he had nowhere to go, so that explains what happened to Vessels. So he'll be incensed at that, and the fact really he was forced offline. And we also have a Ford GT missing a rear wing. So those are all the incidents that happened on lap number 1. And as we return to your live pictures, ladies and gentlemen, there were further incidents later on in that first lap, actually, we should point out, including what happened to Victor Schmeier and Jake Pitt. Well, we're looking back at your live pictures for a brief moment. We are going to cut to another set of replays now, and this is what happened to Victor Schmeier on lap number 1, and this was coming down from Maggots into Beckett, and in the end, as he made his way into the braking zone, rear of the car lets go, and well, as he tries to catch it, he does so, but then Jake Pitt in a bit of an incident only moments later, and well, Jake Pitt there was spinning with no rear wing on the car. That explains what happened to him. And down on lap number 2, we had in fact, I think it was lap number 3, we had a nasty incident from Russell Fowler. And what exactly happened is, of course, the esports. Well, now we do remember, in the fact that Aintree corner just too tight in the apex, to go too much steering lock, and the two did not combine together, and it led to disaster there. And well, with that, we also had the incident of Vanessa De Fuente and Wesley Lewin on lap number 4, and this is what happened to them as they made the way through Maggots into Beckett's here. De Fuente in battle with James Sebastian, netco contact there with Sam, and as Fuente goes on around Sebastian taking the base of action, and Wesley Lewin just being tapped by the rear of the wayward KFM Motorsport yellow car, and that is all they wrote for that incident between the two drivers. And well, we now return to your live pictures, having covered I think most of the major incidents on the opening of 4 laps, but now we'll firmly stay within the world of live racing here, folks, as we do look back to Wesley Lewin in P7 of the bronze class, as he tries to chase down Davide Favo for another position. But we're between the two, and we do have Nestor De Fuente. But from then we have Gavan Gardener here, who, as we look further up the road, he's currently P4 in the gold class and trying to make some further progress, as he has just found his way past Alfonso Marin, the silver class driver. And in fact, as we show you those overall standings, this gives you an idea of how all the field slots together in terms of all the classes intermingled. And the key part being right now that we have really seen the bronze class really move their way up the order, but still very close together. And then it's the gold and the silver classes that are interdicted across one another as they make their way on to the next lap. And well, Gaz Williams and Jonathan Cook here. Well, these two right now both trying to recover after difficult race starts, and well, Jonathan Cook in a wounded BMW. Meanwhile, Gaz Williams, not as many wounds on the car in the Porsche, but has got some aero damage as well to consider. And Tristan Engelstad just stuck in behind, and we do have Count Andre there, who we say hello to in the YouTube chat, who is cheering on Tristan Engelstad and saying floor it. And I'm sure the Mercedes AMG Evo driver will be doing so. But right now, this gold battle of Cook versus Williams keeping her at bay for a brief moment. And in fact, it looks like Cook looks for the move on the inside of Marin. He's going to dive for this. He wants it as much as possible. Oversteer there on the car. He catches it just in time. But Jonathan Cook there are running on the ragged edge of adhesion. And goodness me, that could have gone any which way. But he just about caught it in time as they make the way out of turn number 7 into 8. But you'd imagine the Promising Esports driver won't be wanting to make that mistake again in a hurry, for the simple reason next time, if he doesn't quite catch it in time, the car could be into the grass or the wall. But as they make the way through turn number 9, going on through Cox Bend, well, Marion, they're going a little bit wide, but meanwhile, it's going to be Cook versus Williams here as they make the way into Maggots, and as they come down, Cook there holding on. Williams takes a look around the outside to inside, but knowing the apex tapers too soon at turn number 10, so we can't quite force the issue, and this is fully alongside on entry, so therefore they stay as they were. But right now, I think Gaz Williams very eager to make progress and feeling as though he's being kept behind as we jump on board here with the NXTGEN Racing Team Purple driver. As he makes his way up towards turn number 15. Well, the front will be at this point for the number 90 driver, in the fact that every lap he spends in this configuration being caught up behind Gavan Gardener is just being allowed to gradually pull away. The gap to Gavan Gardener now almost at 2 seconds. and it is still growing. And our leaders by comparison, the best part of 18 seconds up the road as Akram Zinoune has set a new personal best this race, but not a new fastest lap. Those fastest laps right now in the hand of Benjamin McCluskey, the P2 driver, who is closing on the race leader little by little. And keep in mind, it's a long race. I would imagine, particularly our mid-entry rear drivers such as the Porsche 992s will be quite eager to make sure they don't take too much life out of the tyres. And as Williams here, still looking for the move versus here's Rowe. We've got Matt Shorts around there off camera. He's dropped a long way down the order. Not quite sure what's happened to him, but we'll take a look back very shortly. But Williams here still tucked to mine, can't find his way on through as they make them for the left hand. But Cook's going to look for a move on the inside here versus Marrenby. He's got to be careful of that Aintree apex curve then, not to take too much and get greedy. And he does so well there. Does Cook as they power their way down. It's going to be AMG versus BMW M. And as they head in towards the braking zone here, it's Cook on the inside. It's going to be Darren on the outside. Williams watches on, can't find a way to thread the needle into this battle. Instead, just has the weight is turned. Tristan Engelstad just by being very patient as well, as you can see there in the centre console reverse camera. And as they make the way out to turn number 7, Jonathan Cook finally finds his way up into P6 overall, and that's an important overall position gain as his next title will be Gavan Gardener, who's 3 seconds up the road. And now Cook will do everything he can to unwind that gap that we have seen Gardner gradually unravel. But as they make the way on through at turn number 9 on towards 10, well, looking from them, we look back to Nigel Stock, who's on the back of James Mansell. This is for the lead of the bronze class, P11 overall. But as we look back to the class standings there, and our drivers making their way on down through Maggots into Beckett's, the battle of the BMWs. Mark Sykes is over 1.3 seconds behind and running a very solid race in that third place spot right now, trying to go for a podium. It's been some time since we've seen Sykes on the bronze podium. And as they make the way on down the back straight, who will it be at this time heading to the next braking zone? Well, I suspect Mansell will be ahead, given the fact that he does have that 3.5 tenths gap advantage. And Stock here does have a little bit of room to play with on the strategy, and the fact he could do some fuel saving here to give himself the opportunity to jump ahead on just the pit stop. Keep in mind, we do believe that Stock is the faster of these two drivers by a reasonable margin of a couple of tenths a lap on average. So therefore, Stock does have options here if he's able to play the pace card in the long term. But Mansell will keep thinking about just holding on to that lead right now and not making any mistakes. But Stock here does have to think about if he can make the move safely and do it in the pit lane to give himself back-to-back wins here today, then will that be worth more than trying to force the move early on? Or as they make the way on through, only he can be the one who decides whether to go through with that approach, alternatively going all in early. And meanwhile, whilst they make the way on through, we did have that incident from Matt Shorter only moments ago. But what exactly happened to the CSA driver? Well, this was going through turn number 1 into 2, gets a good run through 1, the car starts to snap loose there through 2 on the direction change, tries to correct it, and has to correct the steering wheel the other way, but at that point the rear axle snaps, and well, for Matt Shorter, he just cannot point the car in a straight line, and when it's like that, and well, the CSA green drone then gets the car back together quickly, but it does cost him quite a bit of race time. And as we return to your live picture, still looking at the bronze lead battle here, and indeed it's the top 3 in the bronze class right now, all nose to tail. You're looking back from the rear of James Mansell for NXTGEN Racing, who leads this group with Nigel Stock and then Mark Sykes just behind, and Mark Sykes trying to get involved in this battle, and we're eager to try and make an early impression here as they make their way in towards turn number 9. Through Cops Bend they go, as they come through the right and into the braking zone for Maggots into Beckett. Well, now the big question will be, will Stock have to look more for rear guard action, or will he now turn things up a notch and try and force the move here on the 660 BMW? Well, as they make the way on through the right-hander here of Beckett's, this will tell us quite a bit. You see Stock there going for a quite late apex and nailing the exits. Mansell going overly deep, and in fact collecting the car just in time there, but it's going to cost them the speed. This will be about a 10th by the time they get to the braking zone for Stoke Corner. Now, will we see a move here from Stock? He's going to go for it. He's going to look to the inside. This Mansell on the outside opens up the corner as much as he can, but as he turns it, he finds Stock's right there. Mansell going to go wide. Sykes behind, and Nigel Stock takes the lead of the bronze class over James Mansell in the 19th minute here at Silverstone in the feature race today, as they make the way on for the last couple of corners on onto what will be for them lap number 10 on the race conditions. And as they make the way through the right-hander, now Mansell will have to worry about Sykes behind, as I think Stock will just gradually start to pull away based on relative pace. And Mark Sykes right now feeling very adventurous here, and will definitely shine why he is one of those drivers who you can never count out in the bronze class, and the fact when he is in the zone he can pull off some phenomenal results. Indeed, you only need to look back to what was his win in the opening season of the GT3 League here on iRacing at Daytona, where he absolutely dominated in the sprint race at Daytona in that season opener. driver, and not quite able to replicate that domination in more recent seasons, but still always has the fire in him, as he's got Russell Fowler, the Silver Class P5 driver, coming up behind. I would imagine that Sykes will let Fowler go when the time's right, as they make their way in towards turn 6 and 7. Meanwhile, looking from them, we look back up to your race leader here of Akram Zinoune, and he has got Benjamin McCluskey closing behind him. These are your two gold leaders, separated by 8 tenths of a second, we should say. And as the first third of this race comes towards a close, well, the challenge here will be, as we see Alex Rogenbach there taking an off-road line in order to be able to find his way gradually back up to the circuit. I suspect he's got it wrong, making his way into what was Maggotts then decided just a straight line across the grass and gradually bring himself back onto terra firma. And as they make their way on through turn number 5, right now Akram Zinoune just trying to push away from Benjamin McCluskey, but McCluskey gradually bringing this battle down to what is within attacking distance. The gap coming down by 2 to 3 tenths a lap. Last lap it was 3 tenths exactly it was brought down by, and we'll have to wait and see at the end of this lap what they're able to do in terms of whether Zinoune can open the gap back up, or whether he'll find it will be quashed down even slightly more. And as they cross the line there, well, that time 3.5 tenths achieved by Benjamin McCluskey. This gap is narrowing fast, and with it we're going to be seeing a battle between these two within the next 2 to 3 laps, given the rate of closure. But the only thing McCluskey's got to worry about right now is the fact that he will be getting into that dirty air zone off of the back of the Mercedes AMG Evo, and will that upset the front aero balance of the Porsche 992? Well, meanwhile, speaking of upsets here, this is going to upset the ribbon for James Spadskis, as he does have Russell Fowler going around the outside of him at turn at number 17. And as they make the way to the start for this straight, well, these two of Spadskis and Sykes now will be relegated to that battle of a P2, with Nigel Stockfield, as I think, just keep breaking away 2.5 seconds up the road already, which is sensational stuff from what is Nigel Stock to be opening up that gap at such a rapid rate. And as they make their way through turn number 3, Spadskis goes a bit deep. Meanwhile, Mark Sykes here looking for that potential run as we jump on board with the 666 NXTGEN Racing Team Red driver. And will the Ferrari here, known for its acceleration out the corners, also its top end in the drafts, but it's not known for its top end in terms of 5th and 6th gear by default. So therefore right now he's thinking about the potential move. He's going to have to try and use the tyre as much as he can, and in the end does not go for the lunge on the brakes. So I think feels as though he can get the move later on in the lap. And Spadskis right now definitely, I think, a bit uncomfortable in the car, and Sykes trying to put all that pressure on different lines there going through turn number 7. It's interesting to see coming through Luffield how the fact that Sykes taking more of a V-shaped approach, whereas Spadskis taking the more conventional U-shaped approach. And as they make the way up towards Cox Bench, Sykes again taking a little bit of a peek there, trying to see if he can get into the head of Spadskis, but Spadskis having none of it as they make the way through the right-hander and up towards turn number 10. As they power their way on through here into Maggotts. Well, now Sykes will be thinking about the run out of Beckett's corner. That's where he can go for. He gets very close there by Spadskis into the break. It's over Maggotts and staying very close. They come into Beckett's, but that throws him offline. Spadskis breaking a little bit earlier than what Sykes would expect. So Sykes will now need to be wary of that, as he has found himself going wide there coming into Chapel. But now Sykes has all that information. He'll know next time around when he gets close, he can set himself up for success there. But it's a key information gain, and the gap opens back up to 7 tenths as they charge the way up the road. Meanwhile, we do look to Craig Tillotson, P5 in the bronze class. He's got Jordan Baybois behind him. Keep in mind that Jordan Baybois has already made 1 pit stop today, which did put him effectively a lap down on the group. He has found his way back up into P6 already, as James Spadskis makes his way into the pit lane, but that will be for a strategic stop. So Spadskis opts into pit immediately as Craig Tillotson loses the rear of the car, and Baybois having to take evasive action there with the way with FR20 Sim Racing Ferrari, who finally brings the car back together, albeit waiting for the field to clear first. But meanwhile, his elbows out here between Wes Cook and Williams, and again these two have come together, and Williams is turned around, and the NXTGEN Racing Team Purple driver will not be too pleased about that whatsoever, I suspect, in the fact that right now he really has had a difficult day. He's been turned around by drivers more than most, and as they make their way up towards what is turn number 6, well, we take a look back at what exactly preceded those events in terms of that battle between the two of them. Well, two-way coming out of 2 into 3. Williams going hard on the brakes. They're going into Village Corner. And as they made the way around under brake in here, it looks as though Cook on the inside. Williams turns in, and well, it's a 50-50 there in terms of did Williams turn in on Cook, or did Cook just outbrake himself and make a bit of contact with the side of Williams' car? Do let us know what you think in the chat. I think that might be a difficult one for the stewards to unpick there. But definitely both drivers racing hard and fast, and neither one wanting to back off. But as we return to your live pictures, we do look to Williams making his way into Maggots currently, and just in front of him we've got the long train here of Alfonso Marin, who's your third place silver class driver, ahead of your fifth place gold driver of Matt Shorter, and in the fourth place silver driver of Tristan Engelstad at the back of the trio. It's two Mercedes sandwiching what is there, the Porsche of Shorter, as they make the way on down the back straight, and as they head in towards turn number 15 going into Stowe Corner. I wouldn't be surprised here if Shorter potentially considers coming to the pit zone. When the pit window is currently open, that pit window normally arising around the 20th minute mark. Sometimes we have seen drivers gamble with an 18-minute pit stop, albeit in terms of coming in on the 18th minute, we should say, as we hear that Gaz Williams has made his way down pit lane and therefore decides to come on in early, I think, to repair the car, but also to get the car back up to speed into some clear air and reset its focus after that contact with Cook. But the pit window really running from around the 18th to 20th minute, depending on the circuit and fuel usage, all the way up to what is normally around the 47th to 48th minute. And speaking of moves being made, well, there's Matt Shorter up the inside of Marin, we should say, going into Village, and Marin in the end not able to find a way back. But now Tristan Engelstad all over the back of his fellow Mercedes driver and the Quad Dash Racing driver, looking to try and make the move here as he runs close in the toe. Marin defending hard, pins the car to the inside. Engelstad looks around the outside into Brooklands, goes in under braking. They'll be side by side under turn. Nilbert Engelstad's got the wider circumference to go for, and he can't quite complete the commitment to the inside of Luffield Bend. So as a result, Engelstad there has to back off, but meanwhile Marin holds on as they make the way out of 7 and on towards Woodcourt 8. Charging back up the throttle now, Engelstad will know he's got an opportunity next time around potentially as they make the way up towards turn at number 9, heading in towards Box Bend. But as they do, and meanwhile we look to Jordan Baybois, who are battling there side by side with Mark Sykes, who's had an off track, I believe, at Brooklands into Luffield, and it was Sykes rejoins. Jordan Baybois takes P3 in the bronze class, but do keep in mind that James Mansfield has recently come on in for a strategic pit stop, so these drivers are out of position. And also Jordan Baybois has already made one pit stop, but that was right at the start of the race after the open lap instance. So right now the Frenchman definitely up against the odds here in terms of that he'll have to make another pit stop, and that is going to really hurt him when he is sent much further down the order. Albeit the fact that he's up here right now and battling in amongst drivers who've yet to pit, including Sykes, he's not far off a stock. Don't count Jordan Baybois out as of yet. He could still potentially be on the podium. If not, if he absolutely nails the pace from here to the very end, he could even be on a chance of winning if he times it right. But he's going to put qualifying laps in, and they've got to be essentially purple lap after purple lap in class all the way from now to the very end of the race. But meanwhile, looking from him, and indeed drives further down the order, up towards the front of the order once again. This is the lead battle in the gold class between Akram Zinoune and Benjamin McCluskey, and will that gap down to 4.5 tenths to 5 tenths on average. But no more progress really being made by McCluskey at this time, and I wouldn't be surprised here if the NXTGEN Racing driver, NXTGEN Racing Team Purple driver, thinking about now fuel saving and protecting the tyres as well. Keep in mind that the teams can change their tyres in the pit lane at the same time as they take on fuel. So therefore, normally with the amount of fuel they're putting in the cars for a stationary stop time in the region of around 24 seconds today, we are expecting as the fuel goes in, at least one, if not two tyres can be changed before they have to add time to the pit stop for the additional tyre changes. And while drivers undoubtedly will be looking to change the left-hand side tyres in order to try and improve the grip through the long right-handers, but of course that does unbalance the grip levels of the car, and it can take some time to get the car all set up and back into motion when it comes to the fact you've got right-hand side tyres which are heavily worn, whereas left-hand side tyres are absolutely fresh. So we'll have to wait and see whether that's what plays out in practice. But as Akram Zinoune here continues to try and keep McCluskey behind. McCluskey right now may just have some of the cards up his sleeve, and what can Zinoune do in order to be able to stay ahead when it comes to the pit stops, which will be coming within most likely the next 10 minutes. Well, Zinoune immediately into the pits, and so goes McCluskey here. So McCluskey decides to follow in his rival. They make the way on in, and it will be a race now on the pit stop guns in terms of getting the fuel in and also the tyres changed. But meanwhile, looking for them, we looked at Alfonso Marin as Tristan Engelstad right behind him, and these two Mercedes drivers nose to tail here as they make their way into Stowe Corner. Well, right now the Spaniard definitely under the pressure as they head on through, and I think we've got more pit stops coming up here as they all make the way on in. Onto the brakes they go, and well, right now Alfonso Marin, a little bit of attack there from Tristan Engelstad, who just misanticipates his braking point for the pit entry, but they both safely make it on through. But as the pit stops are all unfolding currently, well, we'll have to wait and see who's going to come out on top of it. I think in fact the majority of the pit stops now are playing out, so it's going to go a bit quiet on circuit. Albeit some pit stops soon going to Akram Zinoune. They're parked up, he leaves his pit box, what about McCluskey? Well, McCluskey does leave his pit box as well, but behind, I do believe, is McCluskey as they make the way away. So it looks like Akram Zinoune, in fact, gaining in the pits, and Benjamin McCluskey spending an extra 3 seconds in his pit box. I wonder if that's to take on some extra fuel in order to perhaps be able to push harder versus Akram Zinoune, or perhaps he had to push that hard on the fuel early on. Now, right now for McCluskey, it's all about having to go, and Zinoune might be in control of this race. We'll have to see, as meanwhile leading for the first time overall this season is Nigel Stock. Keeping in mind he's yet to pit, and he's coming just ahead of Akram Zinoune. But the Crest Autosport driver, your bronze leader, he's deciding to go for the overcut, or go as long as humanly possible, as we used to refer to it. And right now, as he makes his way on through what is turn number 7 there, making his way on around Luffield corner. Well, right, it's going to look good for the number 30 driver here, and the fact he will take an overall lap to his name in terms of leading it, and in return as well, right now in a world of his own in the bronze class, albeit as he makes his way in towards Cox Bend. We do have a bit of a change here in terms of P3 in the silver class. Tristan Engelstad has jumped ahead Alfonso Marin, as we can see there the flash of the lights from Marin trying to distract Engelstad, who almost does find himself distracted and breaking very late into Brooklands. And as they come on through into Luffield, well, right now Engelstad goes a little bit deep. Marin looks up the inside, side by side they go on corner exit. It's going to be the battle on the Mercedes coming on through Cops corner. Engelstad's going to have to go the widest circumference, and that's going to cost them a bit of speed here as they make the way towards Cops corner. It'll be too wide into the next braking zone, but who's going to have the better run on the brakes? Well, I think it's going to be Marin here, unless Engelstad can get a cut back, which will work to his advantage, but I don't think he can. And in fact, Alfonso Marin takes back P3 in the silver class there in the space of only half a lap after Engelstad made the jump on the pit strategy. As they wind their way now through Magazine to Beckett's, brilliant racing between these two for the simple reason, very equal in strategy here. Gaz Williams tucked in behind them, and also trying to get back in the mix, and in particular try and clear them, go hunting after Matt Shorter, who's just gone past our cameraman. As they head on down towards what is turn number 15, well, Matt Shorter right now trying to chase down Jonathan Cook, who's only a second or so up the road from him. So all of the class battles now are really starting to tighten up. And speaking of a battle here, here's two close rivals in the gold class, Gavan Gardener versus Stephan Wessels, and Gardener trying to hold on to P3 in the gold class here as they make their way into turn number 1, and as they roar the way through. Well, there's a score to settle between these two, and I think by the end of the season we'll see who's going to be the one with the upper hand. But right now, Gavan Gardener holds track position versus Stephan Wessels, but Wessels, I think, feeling as though he's got the pace here to find his way through. But the problem is, catching is one thing, overtaking is another when you're chasing down Gavan Gardener. And the next gen that racing a Team Pink driver, well, that car's not just for show in terms of its colours, it's also there for blow in terms of when it needs to defend hard. And as they make their way down towards turn number 6, half the race still to go here with 29 minutes on the clock. Plus the final lap. Gardener there goes a little bit deep under braking, but hits a late apex of Brooklands. But right now, Wessels trying to come back at him as they make their way through the right-hander of Luffield, and roaring the way on out there. No exchange at the moment, but Wessels definitely he goes a bit wide there, a bit too eager on the throttle pedal with the dirty out of the back of Gardener's car, and Wessels falls to a second back now as he looks to try and recover that lost time over the remainder of this lap and going to the next one. But Gavan Gardener right now just proving that keeping cool and carrying on can be critical to success, and keep in mind that these guys are the best part of 12 seconds behind Benjamin McCluskey, who's P2, and there's a further 2 seconds to your race leader, Akram Zinoune, as they weave their way through what is for them now lap number 16. Meanwhile, we look back to Engelstad versus what is Gaz Williams here. Williams has picked his way past Engelstad, and Engelstad will be hoping that Williams can just simply pull him up to the back of Alfonso Marin. As our drivers cut their way through Magazine to Beckett's, we look a bit further down the order, shortly to Jordan Bavois, who's looking to try and make some progress versus Mark Sykes. But before we do that, we stay with this battle a little bit longer, as it looks Alfonso Marin potentially is susceptible to a pass from Gaz Williams. But Tristan Engelstad in that double toe, he'll come on quite quickly, but I don't think he's going to come on quickly enough here to look at that potential move as they make the way up in to the right-hander at turn number 15. So instead we do now look back to Jordan Bavois versus Mark Sykes here as they come charging out of turn. What is that? I do believe turn at number 13, 14 of their own, and we can see Bavois tucked into the toe there of the white black NXTGEN Racing team red car piloted by Mark Sykes, and into the braking zone they go. Sykes on the outside, Bavois takes the shot on the inside here under braking, and well, he absolutely nails his target and moves up into P3 in the bronze class. Mark Sykes just playing it calm and collected and looking for that top 5 as they make their way in towards the Vale. As they come down for turn 16 and 17, the low speed chicane there, and roar their way now on to the next lap. We look from them to Wesley Lewin a bit further back here, and the CSA pink Ferrari 488 driver well, in the Evo machine. He's tucked in behind Davide Farlow, and the CSA blue Audi just in front of him, looking at potentially vulnerable to a pass here. Well, they are sister teams, they are battling for places in the team's championship, but at the same time, both drivers will not want to take one another off, as it is the closest thing to end up in contact with your own teammate as they come on through to go on to the next lap. Skids are just behind them. Keep winding, you see in the rear of the picture there, the other CSA blue driver trying to make progress, and therefore we can confirm that the contact, in terms of the contact between the CSA blue drivers, was Skidser and Vala on the opening lap as they head in towards the braking zone for turn number 3. Well, coming on through, Wesley Lewin right now, staying well in the position to try and look for a move, but he's not quite able to take the final steps here to get alongside versus Varvo, and perhaps that dirty edge just upsetting the car as the Audi in front, very well set up for the medium and high-speed corners around this circuit, but just lacks the top end speed. But meanwhile, as we see Ernesto de Fuente making his way around the outside of Mark Sykes. Mark Sykes, the P4 bronze driver, knowing where to pitch his battles and where not to fight. Ernesto de Fuente just making another move there. P6 in the silver class. He's still got a long way to go before he finds his next silver class driver. And you can see that from the overall standings here on the left-hand side of your screen. In fact, he's currently P17 overall, and the next silver driver is Russell Fowler, P5 in the class, and he's in P12 by comparison. So right now the KFM Motorsport yellow driver has got his work cut out for him if he wants to try and gain some more places in class before this race is all said and done. As he makes his way on down towards turn number 15. Meanwhile, we look back to Gaz Williams here, who's finally found his way past Alfonso Marin, and as he's done so, it's led to a little bit of a traffic jam here of silver drivers behind. Alfonso Marin ahead of Tristan Engelstad and Russell Fowler at the back of this group. And as Fowler brings himself up towards turns 1 and 2, well, making the way into the braking zone here for turn 3, can Fowler find a way to get involved in this battle and potentially overtake both of the Mercedes drivers? I mean, it's going to be a hard undertaking here. You know how close Engelstad and Marin have been at corner to corner, lap after lap, as they make the way onwards now, coming out of Aintree. Well, this is the closest that Engelstad's been for some time. He's well and truly within the zone here. One tip it's going to be as they make the way into Brooklands. He's going to look around the outside. Marin defends here, but Engelstad's going to try and cut back to get the run in to Luffield Bend. But the problem is, well, Marin just simply says, right, well, I'll park it on Apex then, going into Luffield, and there's nothing you can do. And Engelstad backs the car off in order to set the run out to the next corner. But the problem for Engelstad here is that Marin just seems to know exactly where to position the car each and every time if he wants to hold on. And whilst this has been playing out, we've heard in our ear that Craig Tillotson has had to be towed to the pitch due to an incident, and that has led to his retirement. Unfortunately, the Ferrari driver from FR20 Sim Racing will not be seen on the circuit again today after his fantastic first race today. The second race not working out. We've also had the retirement of Alex Roggenbuck in an earlier stage of the race, and those are your two retirees thus far. But meanwhile, whilst these silver drivers are trying to work things out in that battle for the final spot on the silver podium, meanwhile, looking a bit further up the road from them, well, we have got 9 attempts once again between Akram Zinoune and Benjamin McCluskey as the gold leaders fight on here, making the way into turn number 3 on lap number 19. And, well, this is a repeat of what we saw before the pit stops, it must be said, in the fact that we saw Akram Zinoune initially able to open up a lead, and then Benjamin McCluskey bringing that gap down, brought it down to 4.5 to 5 tenths on average, only then to stay behind for a sizable piece of time. As we all hear that Jamie Dory is into the pit lane once again for what is now strategy-based stop after making that early pit stop to repair damage on the car. So unfortunately, it will mean that Dory will be relegated to either staying in P8 in the gold class or potentially losing out to Victor Shimura if he's close enough. We'll keep our eyes on that. But meanwhile here, Akram Zinoune holding on still. But from there, we can see here, well, the battle and the gloves are off between the two Mercedes drivers and the battle for P3 in silver. Alfonso Marin goes for the cutback there, coming on through the loop, but Tristan Engelstad nails the exit of the hairpin. And as they make their way through Aintree right now, it's Alfonso Marin who finds himself now on the charge and trying to look for the way back. But I think Tristan Engelstad has done enough, and well, Quadrash Racing will be absolutely pleased as punch with their driver. And I'm sure many of you tuning in the YouTube chat, we know we've got quite a few fans, but as soon as I say that, he makes a mistake, and Tristan Engelstad right now loses the place to Alfonso Marin. The commentator's curse strikes him immediately, and as they make the way out to turn number 7, look at Russell Fowler, who now looks to go in as Alfonso Marin goes wide out of turn number 7, and now Fowler's going to try and take at least one place here as they make their way to Cops Corner. He gets ahead, Marin backs off and tucks in behind, but as they charge the way on through turn number 9, Well, going a bit wide there, Fowler. He's going to have Marion looking for the move immediately, and Marion's going to peel to the inside here, going in to the complex. Side by side they go, and as they do, we're going to make the way side by side through the entire team. Maggots into back hits they come, and onto the brakes. Russell Fowler having to defend here, and it looks like Alfonso Marion just not able to find a way through, and therefore Tristan Engelstad is now brought a large amount of breather and brought the best part of a second, if not 1.3 seconds almost, as they make the way down the back straight, and Marion not done yet. Fowler's having to defend here. Alfonso Marion's got the overspeed. Can he get this done under braking in to Stowe Corner? Well, he's going to look all the way around the outside. Side by side they go, and well, Marion's going to get this done. He's going to be on the inside, but immediately Fowler switches back when Marion thinks he's got it done. Marion then goes to fence in the middle of the road, and well, both drivers exploring the limits and how far they can use the track, but it is Alfonso Marion who gets the P4 back in the silver class, and Tristan Engelstad is almost 2 seconds up the road from these guys from all their battling. Meanwhile, whilst this has been playing out, the battle for the gold lead now and the overall win today has closed up even further, so it's 3 attempts here between Benjamin McCluskey and Akram Zinoune as they make the way through turn number 7 up towards 8-9 they go. And as they do so, well, these two right now pushing one another to the limit in terms of what's possible. And I think Benjamin McCluskey, with the extra fuel he took in the pit stop, he will have given himself now all the fuel he needs to go to the end. But can Akram Zinoune find a way to push McCluskey so hard that McCluskey ends up wearing the tyres down that Porsche 992? We know it's the weakness of the Porsche. It does not like overheating those rear tyres, and once they're hot, it's very hard to get them to cool down unless you back off the pace. The Mercedes, to be fair, is very snappy in the lower speed corners, particularly second and third gear, and those rear tyres can light up very easily as well. So both drivers are going to try and get the other to make a mistake, whether it be in terms of mistake on circuit or alternatively not conserving their tyres hard enough. But Akram Zinoune holds off the test, throwing it in by Benjamin McCluskey right now. But for how long can he hold on before this battle potentially escalates further? And that's what we're waiting to see. But from there, looking further back to Matt Shorter. Well, he's trying to chase down P6 overall off of the second place silver driver of Derek Camano as they make the way all the way down towards turn number 15. He's got Jonathan Cook and company just behind, and as they charge their way up towards the next braking zone, where it looks as though here Cook's going to have to watch and wait for some time, and Shorter now looking for that prospect of making a move here, but will he be able to do so? That will be the challenge that confronts him, as David Camano, to be fair, in his own right, is a relatively fast driver, albeit last lap from Camano. Shorter was the best part of 8 tenths faster, so that would suggest that we are going to see a potential move coming soon as they wind their way out of the bow chicane and through Club Corner. What about this time as they cross the timeline? Well, for Camano, it is going to be, what is there, a 201.47 Shorter, still 7 tenths faster, but now he's in that dirty air zone, and I don't think he's going to be able to have as easy a time as they make the way through a farm curve and into the braking zone for turn number 3 into finish. They go, Shorter up the inside, doors wide open, Camano seeing it coming. Cook's going to look for the move as well, but he'll make to go around the outside of the loop here. Camano on the inside by comparison. And as Cook tries to cut it back, Camano in the way, and therefore Derek Camano right now not able to make any further progress until they come through Aintree. And now Jonathan Cook will try and blast his way past here, but that Lamborghini not slow on the straights. As they enter the braking zone, Cook has got the inside open, so he will be able to force the move, but that definitely very close between them, and Jonathan Cook finally finds his way through to now continue his chase of Matt Shorter. But from them, we look to Russell Fowler, who's battling here with Alfonso Marion for his P4 in the silver class, and Tristan Engelstad's gone. Well, I can tell you the fact he's gone because you can't see him on camera. There he is off in the distance for a brief moment. If you blinked, you probably missed it. But right now, the gap between Alfonso Marion and Russell Fowler may only be 3 tenths. But to Tristan Engelstad, it's almost 4 seconds. In the fact these two are still fighting for full place. They're not focused on that podium spot in the silver class anymore. They're locked into a battle here to be the best of the rest off of the silver podium. And as they come through Cops Corner, with Fowler very close this time, and the corner where it all started in terms of the battle between the two of them. And as they weave their way down through Maggots here, we can definitely see the difference in approach to the braking there, whereby Marion a bit more conservative on the brakes, meanwhile Fowler really just bashing the brakes in terms of being a lot more aggressive there, and I think trying to use the most he can in terms of speeding, carrying to the corners there in order to be able to get close. But again, look how the Mercedes able to match the BMW on the straights, if not outrun it to a degree, despite the fact that Fowler is in the toe of the Mercedes. Alfonso Marion just able to pull the yardage that he needs to stay safe, and as they make the way through, we need to look from them, ladies and gentlemen, because meanwhile, in the battle for the overall and the gold lead, it's Akram Zinoune versus McCluskey coming out of the loop, and down they go, down the Wellington straight, and Zinoune there under pressure, side by side for the first time here in the race today as they make the way on through and as they charge the way through the left-hander of turn number 6 into 7. Right now, McCluskey continues to be very close here, and I think right now Akram Zinoune is going to be under incredible pressure for the final 17 minutes plus the final lap of this race, and this carries on as we're in the Jordan Bayrois into the pit lane now for another pit stop. Well, something's gone a bit wrong there for Jordan Bayrois, given the fact that that would equate to, I believe, his third pit stop of the day, unless I'm very much mistaken, given the fact he has already taken a second pit stop. We'll have to wait and see what that's all about. But as his car is being serviced, in fact, he has a splash and dash of fuel, so 4 seconds to put some fuel in the car from what I'm hearing. They didn't quite put enough in the car on that second pit stop, which is unfortunate, and will push Bayrois all the way down to P5 in the bronze class when he was batting Mark Sykes for the podium. But meanwhile here, Akram Zinoune still holding McCluskey for the time being. McCluskey's had his first glimpse at a potential move, wasn't quite able to make it happen, and as they make the way here all the way up towards turn number 15, we're looking from the blimp camera right now over the top, and the key point being that every bit of straight line speed goes the way of the Mercedes, every bit of cornering capability goes the way of the Porsche 992. They're chalk and cheese opposites, as we like to say, in terms of one's good in one respect, the other's weak in that same respect, and then it's the opposite way around for other aspects. But right now these two are absolutely locked into a dead heat between them as they make the way into the final quarter of this race, and it does look as though McCluskey gets the better run out of Club Corner. He's not quite able to get alongside into Abbey, but as they come through turn of 1 into 2, McCluskey poking and prodding every step of the way for a potential move. Under brake he goes, McCluskey on the inside, Zinoune turns on in, but in the end they give each other just enough space. McCluskey trying to set himself up for a potential run here, looks around the outside at the loop, and will Zinoune having to go defensive there, pushed off line slightly as they make the way through turn number 5. As they come through Aintree Corner, McCluskey falls back behind here, lets the Mercedes use its straight line speed advantage for a brief moment. But again now McCluskey is starting to tighten the noose on this battle, and as they come on through turn 6 and 7, well, right now it would seem that Zinoune really having to push more and more onto the defence rather than being able to just hold on by relative pace. Meanwhile, McCluskey seems to have pace to throw at this situation, and as we ride on board here with the Porsche 902 driver, more and more this is starting to go the way of McCluskey, but he's still got to find a way past, and Zinoune, to be fair, a very strong defender in his own right. As they make the way through Cops Corner here, well, backing off for a brief moment is McCluskey. Now, he can't really do anything through this set of corners. It really is one wide unless the driver in front makes a mistake, and therefore he'll be trying to set up the run to get as close as possible going on through Beckett's into Chapel. And we can see that McCluskey getting a much better approach to the apex there at turn 13, and through Chapel he will gradually gain, but again he gains here about half a tenth, and then the Mercedes just simply opens up the tap. That's 6.3 litres of V8 muscle underneath the hood of that Mercedes AMG, all naturally aspirated, no supercharger or anything to bolt onto it. And as they make the way through turn number 15, we have the flat 6 of the Porsche 992. It's fast, but it's not quite able to match the potency of the good old V8 under the hood of the German, as the German Mercedes, I should say, both these cars are being German, of course. And as they make the way through turn number 17, and they stay as they were, as they roll the way through McCluskey, having a bit of an error there towards the end of that lap, but backs up against a much better run coming out of Club Corner. In fact, a phenomenal run. I think here, if he goes for it into turn 1, he could be able to force the door open. Decides against it once again here, tucks in behind. And well, I think McCluskey might need to really consider trying to push for the move in terms of trying to send it. Meanwhile, looking back to Cook versus Matt Shorter, will drive for Cook there up the inside of Shorter in to the Vale chicane and gets it done through turn 16 to 17 up to P5 in the gold class, and carrying on his way. His next target is Stephan Wessels, who is the best part of 18 seconds up the road. Matt Shorter still with Cook, however, so I don't think this battle is over yet. I think Shorter may have been caught a little bit by surprise, and as they come through 2 into 3, can Shorter find a way back immediately? Here's the question. No, he can't right now, but I would imagine that Shorter will be eager to try and find a way to open that door back up and get himself back into the top 5 of the gold class before all is said and done here today. As they come through turn at number 5, the corner that's caught out so many today in terms of taking too much apex curve. Cook here now starting to establish himself that gap, standing at 3 tenths. It seems to be stabilising. Meanwhile, as they break the way into Brooklands, we look a bit further back to David Camano, who was recently passed by Gaz Williams at overall position P8. So to Kamano P9 overall, but more importantly for him, still running as the runner-up in the silver class. But he has Tristan Engelstad, who is closing, and Engelstad's pace right now is seeing this gap come down by about a second a lap. And to put that in the frame, we will show you how the lap time history has played out between the two of them very shortly as we do bring the lap times up on the board. And there we can see in the bottom centre of the screen in the fact that over the last couple of laps, Engelstad on average has been losing about 1.3 seconds a lap, and that is painful. Well, in fact, Kamano, we should say, has been losing 1.3 seconds to Engelstad, and that is painful in terms of the fact that he'll know that he's going to be fighting for this second place spot all the way to the very end, as Engelstad right now really coming alive, albeit saying that as they wind their way on through. I think Engelstad with a brief error coming on through Magnussen Beckett, and that's just cost him a degree of time as they charge their way on down this back straight. On third line, Russell Fowler still trying to chase after Alfonso Marin for that P4, but Marin absolutely frustrating, unfortunately, esports driver. And keeping in mind that Sergio Gonzalez Martin is P7, this is great damage limitation being done by KFM Motorsport in the fact they're getting their drivers to frustrate the Silver Class Championship leader. Legally they're doing this, of course, keeping in mind they are allowed to race fairly with other rivals, and that's what it all comes down to. But Fowler will know that right now he's being made to work for every yard whenever he sees a KFM Motorsport car, and understandably they want their driver of Gonzalez Martin not to lose as much ground as possible in the silver race, with the fact that Gonzalez is almost a lap down in P7 in the silver class, and he's had a frustrating race. In fact, he can be seen on the same straight as the class leader, Stephan Albanese, right now. And well, speaking of Stephan Albanese, we haven't really talked about the DRS esports driver, but having started on the front row of the silver class, he's just since then avoided all the incidents at the start of the race and is running an absolutely stable and solid race right out front with a gap of 19.1 seconds, and the Italian driver right now on course with only 10 minutes to go to potentially picking up another win. It's been some time since we've seen him on the top step of the silver class podium, and with it could even be a top 5 overall, which would be his best performance ever overall in his GT3 League with NXTGEN Racing career. But as he powers his way in towards turns 10 and 11, he does have Sergio Gonzalez Martin behind him, so Gonzalez respecting the blue flags there and losing more time. But meanwhile, looking from them back to the gold leaders. Here is Akram Zinoune versus Benjamin McCluskey, and we ride aboard and look back from your leader. And as they make the way on through what is there, the Val chicane, it's noticeable now that McCluskey has fallen back and let that gap open up to around 5 to 6 tenths as they make the way on and through onto another lap. And I wonder here whether McCluskey managed to push the car a little bit too hard when he tried to go on the offensive previously, and whether now he's deciding to back the car off to a degree and instead just gradually wait to bring himself back into the battle right at the end. But looking from them back to the battle for P4 in the silver class, where it's Mercedes of Marin ahead of the BMW of Fowler, but Fowler getting very close and looking around the outside. Too wide they go into Stowe, but Fowler not quite able to hold on to the outside in its entirety. He'll still try and argue the case he's there, but Marin shuts the door on him and says, no, you're not, I've got the inside now. And Fowler says, okay, well, I'll go to the outside inside then. And Marin, they're trying to hold on, and in the end just slams the door, shutting Fowler's face before Fowler can even get a toe in, let alone the front of the car. And as they make the way up through turn number 18, Alfonso Marin seen every trick in the book here at Silverstone, and in return showing every little bit of defensive masterclass that he knows how, as they make their way on to another lap. But this battle between them is bringing Nigel Stock into the mix. He's your bronze leader. He's got a 12-second advantage over Elvin Sykes, and Nigel Stock currently lapping about 3 tenths of lap faster compared to the rest of the bronze peers. So therefore I think Nigel Stock will feel relatively safe being on the back of this battle, but also he might want to just take 1 or 2 more places if the time's right, albeit I think his focus will be more on the safety aspects and just get in at the car to the end as a double bronze winner. But meanwhile, as we look from them, this is Wesley Lewin versus Sean Scudder, the 2 CSA drivers battling for P6 in the bronze class. And I believe Sean Scudder going a bit deep, coming on through what was Stowe corner after making the pass on Wesley Lewin initially and having to give the place back as a result. But Wesley Lewin holding on here, and Scudder definitely trying to limit the damage done today. And why I think we are going to be seeing Stock come the end of this round, potentially leapfrogging his way into the bronze class lead with only 2 rounds remaining. Albeit you have to keep in mind that drop scores have not been taken into effect or account as of yet, and I think they will be in the standings for what will be the penultimate round as of next week. As Lewin continues to try and fend off his sister team driver from Chris Shorter Academy as they make their way out to turn number 4 and up towards 5. Going on through the left hand here, will Scudder close. but not quite close enough to be able to make a move. And it's great to see Lewin being able to put up a fight against one of the favourites in the class here, and they're definitely fighting for position right now. This is not going the way of Scooter by default, and well, the number 23 at Ferrari takes doing everything it can to hold on to that P6 spot. But meanwhile, as we look back to that battle for P4 in the silver class, and Alfonso Marin still under absolutely colossal pressure here from Russell Fowler, and Fowler again trying to go around the outside of turn number 15, can't quite find it, and the BMW just does not have enough of that innate rotation to be able to get the job done. They come through turn number 18, and we're right now Fowler there, he's close, but not close enough to be able to look for a move coming through farm into Abbey and potentially then into the village hairpin, but instead just having to wait and watch from the wings as they wind their way through it. Meanwhile, battle for P4 in the bronze class. James Mansfield defending versus Jordan Baybar into Stowe. Through 15 they go. Baybar on the outside, but he's going to run out of room to play with there. Mansfield gets the corner hooked up. Baybar made to wait, but looks back to the inside here under braking. Ferrari driver goes in hot, trying to exploit the weak brakes of the BMW M4, but in Mansfield just out braking his rival enough. And as they wind their way on to what for them will be lap number 27, not many laps left here today. We look back from the rear of the BMW M4 piloted by Mansfield. You can see Baybar trying to take a look up the inside here, going into the opening corner. Can't quite find it. Baybar has to back out there as they make the way into turn number 2. Left into the right hand and out all that village of turn number 3. Baybar looking on the inside again. Gets a nose in, but knowing that he's got to get Spencer's Gal to make a mistake. Spencer's Gal goes wide and rejoins, but he's back there on the inside here as they make the way through turn number 4. And it's going to be Baybar who can't sit back here, going to the inside of Aintree, but he's not got enough of a run here in the Ferrari to be able to get it done, but he will be in the tow and incredibly close to the back of Spencer's Gal as they make the way in towards turn number 5. Onto the brakes they go, looking up the inside here as he goes on in. And as they do so, a bit of netcode contact there, I believe, between Baybar and Spencer's Gal. And for Baybar, the car goes round and he just cannot get a break today. Can the defending bronze champion? That could arguably be the sign of the season for him right now. He just seems to be having the bad luck come his way in the most critical of moments. And another moment there where it's just gone wrong for the number 64 Ferrari. And will definitely look to be a bit of netcode there, as it all just simply seems to be contact that was non-existent. Then that Ferrari definitely feeling some contact between the two cars. But as he brings himself back up to speed, he loses one place overall to Victor Chamorro, but no place in the bronze class. Meanwhile, we do look from these guys back up to your overall leaders, and Akram Zinoune still holding on here for Kevin Motorsport Red. I do believe that's the Moroccan flag there, and I believe the driver from Morocco right now doing everything in his power to hold on for what will be, after this lap, another 2 laps remaining as time continues to trickle down. Benjamin McCluskey 8 attempts behind and just not able to chisel away anymore at this gap. I think Zinoune may have this right now, and if he can negotiate the traffic in front of him of Davide Favo and Jake Pitt, who's 5 seconds up the road, well, Zinoune I think will be comfortably holding on, albeit I think this traffic impeding him to a degree now, albeit Favo can't really go anywhere through Maggots into Beckett's, but now he'll step wide here, coming through Beckett's corner. As they make the way through, that slight bit of damage done there. Gap reduced by a tenth, but not too much. And in fact, Zinoune getting the better exit coming out of Chapel, and that's going to keep him well and comfortably alive. Meanwhile, David Camano's fallen off the pace quite recently, and Tristan Engelstad now looking for the move around the outside. This is a P2 in what is there, the silver class, as they make the way through Cops Corner. But again, Engelstad frustrated, like many here today, in trying to find the way past David Camano. And as they come down through Maggots into Beckett's, no way through so far, albeit they make the way right into left and through into right-hander. And Engelstad right now will be focused on the exit of this corner, coming out of Beckett's now. Can he get the run that he needs in that Mercedes, or will the Lamborghini continue to just prove frustrating? I think it is going to be a run that is needed, converted now into a potential attack into Stowe Corner. But Camano immediately defending there on the inside and knowing that's exactly where he needs to be. He can use the rotation of the Lamborghini to offset the fact he's got a much tighter entry line as they come down the Vale here. And well, Camano defends immediately on the inside, signaling to Engelstad, if you want it, you're going to have to go around the outside to inside. And Engelstad just doesn't have the rotation, that Mercedes. He can't get the car around the outside of the Lamborghini in order to pull off the move. And as they make the way on to what then will be the penultimate lap of their race now, knows how they go. Engelstad looks the inside. Meanwhile, Camano defends hard immediately, and it's going to be Camano goes deep here. Engelstad opens up an opportunity, but he's going to have to hurry fast here to look for under braking into Village. You can see that Camano defending out under braking on the right hand side of your screen. Goes a little bit deep there, and Engelstad looks to try and come back, but he can't quite find it, and now has to wait once again. And as they make the way out of the loop hairpin, it looks like Engelstad here, as good as he can give, he's getting in return from Kamano. And Kamano right now planting that Lamborghini all over the circuit, putting it from left to right and back and forth, and showing no signs of wilting under the pressure here. 2 minutes left on the clock. Engelstad looks at the move. He's going to try and force it on the brake and trying to get Kamano to react, but Kamano then knows not to react to it and just simply holds his place as they make the way from Brooklands into Luffield. And Engelstad now made to wait onto the run into Cox Corner, but can he get this Mercedes to get the job done? I don't think so here, as the Lamborghini able to get the power down sooner, much more stable on the corner exit by comparison. And now they make their way into Cox Bend, and well, 2 tenths is the gap. But Engelstad just no way through here as they come up through the right-hander. As they charge way in towards Maggots into Beckett's, we leave them for a brief moment. Look back to Russell Fowler versus Alfonso Marin for P4 here, and a similar situation where it is a Mercedes at this time holding off a BMW. These two have been incredibly close to the battle for P4 Silver. In fact, the Silver class was some of the best battling today. Well, that's not to undermine the other classes on the field, but we have seen some phenomenal Silver class battling here, some of the finest of the season. And Russell Fowler right now still trying to find a way past Alfonso Marin to get some more points on the board and extend his championship lead versus what is Sergio Gonzalez Martin. But as they make the way on down the back straight, Nigel Stock just watches on there in the background. The bronze leader 9, he doesn't need to risk anything and get involved in this fight. But meanwhile, your race leaders already gone into the final lap. They're going down the Wellington Straight as we speak. And well, speaking of them, here they are. It's Zinoune versus McCluskey. Final lap of racing here today at Silverstone in this feature race. And Zinoune still holding on. Gap is 4 tenths versus McCluskey. And McCluskey right now just still not able to find any way to dent the advantages that Zinoune has. He just seems to be able to frustrate that Porsche. I would say that right now McCluskey just does not have the tyre life left anymore in the Porsche 992. I think Zanoune's close to losing the tyres as well, but nowhere near as close enough by comparison. And that is the differentiator between the two of them. The Porsche just being let down by the fact that it hasn't got the tyre life that the Mercedes driver has been able to pull off here so far. And well, the clock strikes 1 hour to be precise now. And as they make the way on through the combination of Maggots into Beckett's, through Beckett's they go now. And as they do, can Zinoune find a way to hold on just to the very end? I think the answer is yes. Meanwhile, Alfonso Marin versus Russell Fowler in the battle for P4 Silver. They go side by side into Brooklands, and as they emerge into Luffield, where it's going to be Marin who simply parks on the inside there, Fowler made to look and watch as he comes around the long right-hander. Still no way through, but we must look from them, ladies and gentlemen. Back to your overall leaders here, because they're coming up to the final 3 corners. The checker flag is waiting to wave, and well, as Akram Zinoune makes his way through turns 16 and 17, it's been hard fought all the way, but the Gavan Motorsport red driver will be a winner. It's Akram Zinoune who takes the win here in the gold class and overall in the feature, ahead of Benjamin McCluskey P2, and then it will be a further 7.5 seconds back very shortly. Gavan Gardener who rounds off the overall and gold podium ahead of Stephan Wessels, who held off to the line there for the CSA Pink driver. A challenging day today, and then Stefan Albanese in a silent but victorious race will come through your silver winner, P5 overall, in his best result of the season thus far, ahead of Jonathan Cook, who will be finishing at P6 overall when all is said and done. P5 in the gold class, head of Matt Short today at P7, Gaz Williams P8, and then it will be very shortly David Kamano who will be coming on through, albeit with Tristan Engelstad glued to his rear end, but David Kamano will hold on to be the runner-up in the silver class here today. Tristan Engelstad just behind, who rounds off the overall top 10, and with it the silver podium. Alfonso Marin effectively being pushed across the line there almost by Russell Fowler. He takes P4 silver and beats Russell Fowler to the line, and Nigel Stock with P13 overall makes it back-to-back wins once again today with superb drive for Crest Autosport. They're your bronze winner. Elwin Sykes comes on through to be your runner-up in the bronze class. 2 second places for the CSA green driver. He won't be upset at that. He'll be absolutely proud. Nessa De Fuente comes on through behind P15, and it's Mark Sykes who comes on through. It's been a long time, but he's back on the podium, ladies and gentlemen. The NXTGEN Racing Team red driver makes it on through in a superb drive in the bronze class, and it'll be Jamie Dory who comes on through to take P17 when it's P8 in the gold class, and a frustrating day today for the McLaren MP412C driver ahead of P9 gold driver, P18 overall Victor Shimura there for KFM Motorsport Yellow, and then you will have Jordan Baybois who crossed the line at P4 there in the bronze class, and what has been a frustrating day today for the French privateer ahead of what will be the Britain at James Spencer's-Gow in a smoking car. Well, not quite sure what's gone wrong there for Spencer-Gow, but it's definitely a car that's wounded. He crossed the line P5 in the bronze class, ahead of Wesley Lewin, who was P21, P6 bronze, and then Sean Scooter out of fuel, I think. as he makes his way on around, and what a way for it all to go wrong as he's just going slowly there, and somebody's going to push him to the line if they can, and what I think that's going to be Gaz Williams who's going to try and help him out, or is that Benjamin McCluskey? I think it is Gaz Williams who's going to try and give him a helping hand all the way to the line, but Scooter is out of fuel, ladies and gentlemen, and well, he'll be hoping they can get the car to the very end. He's going to be the last finisher if he can, but the car definitely just creeping along right now, and the CSA Blue driver definitely running just under his own power here, but can he get home? That's the question, but as he tries to struggle on, meanwhile Akram Zinoune here flanked by one of his teammates in the form, I do believe, of David Kamano, flashing his lights, and Zinoune today getting the job done. There's no question about it for KFM Motorsport Red. He was pushed every step of the way by Benjamin McCluskey, but in the end McCluskey could not find a way through the absolutely resilient armour of the KFM Motorsport Red Mercedes AMG driver, and what a drive from Zinoune. That could be championship defining at this rate of knots. But as he makes his way into the pit lane, and meanwhile we do see some other drivers also making their way on down, including Nigel Stock, and the bronze class winner here today, faultless in both races, and well, nothing else needs to be said other than the fact he has delivered when it's mattered most, and this will put him into the bronze championship lead with 2 rounds to go. But to give you an update on Sean Scooter, ladies and gentlemen, he is being pushed along here. He's going to make it to the end. He's just going downhill right now, and well, behind him now I do believe we may have the CSA Racing green car of what is Elwin Sykes. They're just trying to help it to the very end. So the two sister teammates here just trying to get their one last car to that checkered flag. And Scooter right now, it's his birthday. It's not been a great day on the track for his birthday, but still at the same time he's going to make it to the end of both races, and that's what it's all about. Great teamwork being shown here, and well, it brings a tear to my eye, I must say, to see this, ladies and gentlemen. But Sean Scooter will be your final lead lap finisher, finishing P22 overall in formation with Elwin Sykes there, and P7 in the bronze class, as he does at long last, I believe, take his checkered flag, albeit limp into the line, but he does finally take it, and the results are subsequently in. And well, with that, let's take a look at them. So after 60 minutes of frantic racing here in the feature race for round 6 of season 4 of the NXTGEN Racing GT3 League, we can see in provisional results Akram Zinoune taking the win for KFM Motorsport Red by 7 attempts over KFM, well, not over KFM I should say, over NXTGEN Racing at Team Purple's Benjamin McCluskey. And then to round off the podium, it's a 2-3 for NXTGEN Racing with Team Pink drivers Gavan Gardener there holding off Stephan Wessels to the podium. And speaking of Stephan Wessels, the CSA Pink driver finishing P4 there. And indeed, a difficult day today. Not quite the results he wanted, but we'll know that the damage to his championship lead won't be too much. He'll still be leading, but Gavan Gardener will be right on his heels. Stefan Albanese, senior for DRS Esports there, a top 5 finish overall, and with that your silver class winner, his best result of the season, I believe his best overall result of his career in this league as well, with Jonathan Cook P6 for Performance Link Esports, a second clear of Matt Shorter in the end, with the CSA green drive being followed up by Gaz Williams for NXTGEN Racing Team Purple, and then the silver pair of David Kamano for KFM Motorsport Red and Quad Dash Racing's Tristan Engelstad round off your top 10, and with that round off your silver podium of Albanese senior, David Kamano and Tristan Engelstad. And then going on to P11, best rest Tristan, well in fact it's Alfonso Marin there, as my eyes do deceive me, and Alfonso Marin being their P4 in the silver class for KFM Motorsport Red. But then we jump to our bronze podium finish in terms of where they finished in the overall standings, and as we can see Nigel Stock there, your bronze class winner, P13 overall for Crest Autosport by a margin of what was almost 15 seconds over Elwin Sykes for CSA Green, your bronze runner-up, and then P16 at Mark Sykes there for NXTGEN Racing Team Red, completing the bronze podium of Nigel Stock, Elwin Sykes and Mark Sykes. And it's great to see the two Sykes drivers there, albeit not related, but they share the same surname, both finishing on the podium together, and I think they'll have a little laugh about that one when they go up into the podium. And then as we look further on down the order now, we can see Sean Scooter being our last lead lap finisher, albeit classified as a lap down, but we like to think he finished on the lead lap as he was given a push across line there for, what was it, CSA Blue, and then also a lap down at Jake Pitt, P23 there for Aztec Racing, ahead of CSA Blue's Davide Favo, with Jorge Santos and Sergio Gonzalez Martin completing all the drivers who finished a lap down, and a difficult day for the KFM Motorsport yellow driver, there's no doubt about it, in this second race. And then finishing at multiple laps down, Craig Tillotson 14 laps down with that early retirement, And as he did not complete, well, in fact, I believe he did just about complete over half the race distance, so he will be classified as a finish for FR20 Sim Racing. But for Alex Rogenbach there, P28, and retiring only what was 8 laps into the race, he'll be classified as a non-finisher, and I'm very unfortunate after his great performance in the sprint race. And then we come on to the individual class finishing positions, starting with the gold class. This is where all the points are made or lost, of course. And Akram Zinoune confirmed as your winner there for KFM Motorsport Red, head of Benjamin McCluskey and Gavan Gardener, who round off your podium there for NXTGEN Racing Team Purple and Team Pink, respectively. Then Stephan Wessels, best of SP4 there for CSA Pink, ahead of Jonathan Cook, who completed the gold top 5 for Performance Link Esports. And then outside the top 5, not to be forgotten about, Matt Shorter, Gaz Williams, Jamie Dory, and Victor Chamorro. We then come on to the silver class. And as we can see here, by quite the margin, Stefan Albanese Sr. taking the win by 24 seconds for DRS Esports over David Camano for KFM Motorsport Red, and the podium being completed there by only a 10th further behind by Tristan Engelstad for Quad Dash Racing. Outside the podium, best of rest there at P4, Alfonso Marin for KFM Motorsport Red, who kept the Performance Link Esports driver of Russell Fowler behind, and then Nestor de Fuente and Sergio Gonzalez Martin completing your standings. And I think the KFM Motorsport yellow driver in the number 55 of Gonzalez Martin will be grateful for his teammates really forcing Fowler to have to work for every yard or place gained here today at Silverstone. And then coming on to the bronze class, last but not least. And as we can see, Nigel Stott, your winner there by 15 seconds for Crest Autosport over Elwin Sykes for CSA at Racing Green. And then we can see Mark Sykes there, P3 for NXTGEN Racing at Team Red, a further 9 seconds behind. Wesley Lewin, best of rest outside the podium there for CSA Pink, finishing 13 seconds clear of Jordan at Baybois. The privateer definitely having a difficult day today, and we're hoping for a much straighter and simpler day next week at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. And then P6 there, James Smagsgal for Aztec Racing, ahead of what is classified as a lap down, Sean Scudder for CSA Blue, and behind him was Aztec Racing's Jake Pitt, then Davide Favo, Jorge Santos, and the 2 retirees of Craig Tillerston for FR20 Sim Racing, and the non-finisher of Alex Rogenbach there for the privateer. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes all of our racing here today at the Silverstone circuit. Fantastic racing from our drivers from start to finish, and the feature race carrying on from where we left off in the sprint race. But once all the racing is completed, don't fret, we've still got plenty more to come on today's broadcast, because coming up in approximately 10 to 15 minutes time will be our post-round interviews with our volunteer drivers, and you definitely won't miss those, so stick around and find out what our drivers got to say. We'll be back very shortly. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is time for our post-round interviews with our selected volunteer drivers. And today we're going to be hearing from one of our gold class drivers in the form of Jonathan Cook from Performance Link Esports, and then we're going to be hearing from two of our bronze drivers, one who was shining bright at the very top of the bronze class field throughout today, Nigel Stockard, double winner for Crest Autosport. And then we're going to be hearing from Jake Pitt from Aztec Racing, our Ford GT driver who at first thought he may not be able to make it onto the grid due to technical issues, but was able to make it on through, and we saw him compete in both races and pick up a top 10 in the feature race. Without further ado, it's my pleasure to have joining me in the interview room the gold class driver of Jonathan Cook, and as he joins me now, good evening to you, Jonathan. And well, what a challenging day you've had today at the Silverstone circuit, a circuit which you had high hopes for going into today, but it looked as though the circuit had other ideas, whether it was the start of the feature or even in the sprint. I believe, ladies and gentlemen, we may not have a line through.
Oh, hello.
Oh, there we go.
No, sorry, it's still on push to talk. Well, what I was saying is, yeah, if I didn't have bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck at all, Paul. Was what I pretty much said to you in the DM. But there's more that meets the surface, I think, than the finishing positions. I think the main thing, sort of the positive I can come out with, is that I feel like I've got my mojo back, and I feel like I've got my pace and my confidence back. So yeah, I can still go away from this round with I guess my chin up and know that I've still got at least some pace left in me. I've been seeing Russell pull away from me the last few rounds, and all due respect to Russell, I've normally been ahead of him, so I've always had my sort of head in my hands wondering what's going wrong, or if Russell's improved, or if I've gone backwards. So I think we're now, I'd say, equal playing field. Russ had a bit of a unlucky night, but yeah, I feel back in a way.
Well, indeed, I do recall you mentioned it in the message prior to today, talking about those thoughts about having that mindset really coming forward and feeling as though you're back in the swing of things and ready to attack today. And in qualifying, you definitely did go on the offensive, a P5 in qualifying both overall and in class, and looked quite tight out there to be on the top 3 rows of the grid.
Yeah, well, weirdly enough, in practice the car felt amazing, and as we got into qualifying, I don't know if the conditions had changed or something. The car was then starting to spin up a bit more on the rear, and grip just definitely wasn't the same as practice. I mean, I don't think pole was too far away from where I was either, but considering in practice they were into, I think, the 58s, and so there definitely was something different. Whether the temps just slightly rose for qualifying, but definitely in a race, in the sprint, the car felt alive again. It just, but yeah, qualifying definitely a handful. But you know what, I'm over the moon with my lap because it was fairly close to what I did in practice, and I think that's all I can ask for, considering it's normally my Achilles heel. So
almost definitely, and setting a 1 minute 59 point, what was 8.68 in the end, is no mean feat when it comes to Silverstone, and putting you on that 3rd row. And when the racing got underway, it looked a bit hectic going through the opening 3 corners, but of course Silverstone does taper to a hairpin early on.
Yeah, well, me, I'm always aggressive on lap 1. That's normally where you can make up the most amount of positions or get a heartbreak, and I'm always one to chance my luck, so I always go for the gamble. Sprint race for me, I was really happy with my pace. I felt like I could have had a podium. Unfortunately, I had a collision with Gaza. I'm not too sure about what happened in that collision. I've obviously run into the back of him, but it was almost like he was about to pull over to the side after the apex, because he was just incredibly slow sort of on the exit of the corner, which for the Porsche I thought it'd be flying away from me under traction. So I think it just caught me a little bit out of surprise. I've obviously taken a bit more corner speed, just running to the back of him, and yeah, it's my fault obviously over in Gaz's race, and ruined my own sort of race, because I definitely think a podium was on the card, at least a 3rd anyway. So.
Well, indeed, it was unfortunate. We do believe there may have been a technical issue on Gaz Williams' side as part of that. So just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that seems to be a running theme for a good number of drivers today in terms of incidents that have happened. But still, focus on positives for yourself in the fact that you came through and in to finish inside the overall top 10 and P60 class, and the pace was coming back alive in the late stages of the race despite the damage on the car.
Yeah, well, me, I call myself Mr. Consistent. I think I just somehow have this weird ability just to be able to sort of nail everything and stay on the same lap time throughout the whole race. You know, a good example was Daytona last year, when for the next gen, the final, and I managed to catch Russell up, but just by lifting and coasting and sort of just sticking to a lap time the whole race. But yeah, feature race, I made a stupid move at the start. I had a really good jump on the green light, and I thought I had at least a little bit of room past Jamie, and so sort of come out to go for the inside, and I've obviously caught his car and it spun me around. Fortunately, didn't collect anyone else, but and then everyone just had a massive carnage at turn 3. So I sort of managed to come back, and that sort of spurred me on that, you know, I wasn't down and out. I still had the chance to get somewhere, and I think by half race distance I was ahead of Russ, because he obviously had a spin as well. So, and I was up into P7 or P6. So I think that's all I could do for the feature. But you know what, I'm really happy with my pace. I showed good consistency, and you know, I had a few incidents, but for the most part I felt confident in the car, and I could drive it quick and keep people behind. So.
Oh, most definitely, and credit is due where, to be fair, any driver who can have a major incident with the wall before they've even travelled 100 yards at the start of the feature race, and over the 60 minutes turn things around, run their full first stint with the damage on the car, and still bring the car home P6 overall, P5 in class. And well, something to talk about a little bit more, your brilliant battle with Matt Shorter over the course of the race. It looks though the two of you were exchanging blows left, right and centre. It's almost as if you were boxers.
Well, I don't think I'm quite there for the boxing level yet, but he was. He definitely kept me on my toes. I ran to the back of David. He sort of caught me again by surprise. It took a bit more corner speed, and he almost felt like he did a brake check right on the apex. But I did have a look back, and I don't think he did, so I'm not going to call him out for it. And luckily, his race didn't get ruined, and I knew that his team are always a bit aggressive on the defence, so. And luckily, because I only lost one position, I sort of let Matt try and do the big sort of muscle him out of the way, and sort of followed Matt through. And I suppose just having that instant really spurred me on for the second part to catch Matt up. And I don't think he was. I think we were both quite similar on pace. I managed to catch him quite quick, but I wasn't then able to get away from him. But fortunately, I think the BMW sort of had a bit of the legs on the Porsche to keep him behind. He didn't really have too many opportunities to send out the inside or anything. So both very similar on pace, and you know, fair play to Matt, because I think it was at Road America he took like a double victory or something. He was miles ahead. So quite happy to be battling him, especially considering where he is in the championship and his pace when we come into session. So.
Well, indeed, and great to see you two batting against one another, and well, holding on the end and demonstrating that pace that you've got at your fingertips and whatnot. It's just not been luck on your side tonight at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, but still we have 2 rounds to go. You're all fired up by the sounds of things, and a week from now we have our final sprint and feature combination at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. How are you feeling for a trip to the North American continent?
Well, Russ has told me many good things. I have not driven it at all before in any car, so going to be completely new to me, which is not necessarily a bad thing. You can always find time when it's a new track, so rather than get frustrated that you're not quick enough. So looking forward to it, and hopefully put on another good showing. So that's the main thing for me, is just keep continuing the momentum, and you know, at least sort of fight for my own. Sort of, I guess, right on the grid. You know, I've had some unfortunate incidents, and missed the Nordschleife because I just couldn't even complete a flying lap there. So, yeah, so just main things, finish season on a high, and show that I still here, and you know, although I'm not in the championship, yeah, I can mix it up at the front of the grid.
Well, saying that, whilst you may not be competing for the Gold Championship crown, mathematically it's not possible for you to be able to catch up at this point. There is, of course, the Teams Championship, of which yourself and the team at Performance Link Esports running in P4 going into tonight. You've still got an opportunity to definitely finish inside the top 3, and, well, things are looking on the up for yourself and the team.
Yep, and we've just recruited a new driver as well, so hopefully when the next season for the GT3s come about, we'll hopefully be a 4-car grid, or at least a 3 at the minimum. We've now got 2 Toms, and then Russ and I really love everything that NXTGEN do here. You know, the broadcast is brilliant from yourself, and the caliper drivers is well on what we are pace wise as well. You know, we're not fighting aliens minus Stephan Wessels. He seems to be on another planet, but you know, we sort of fit in very well here. Russ is doing incredibly well in silver class, and I think I had a really good start to the season, and you know, if I didn't have the incidents, I might be still up there, at least fighting for a podium overall. So yeah, really looking forward to finishing this season, and obviously seeing what you guys put up for next season.
Well, indeed, and we look forward to you continue your story in Canada a week from now and seeing if you can end the season on a high, starting with a sprint and feature race round combination to remember. But just before we do let you go, Jonathan, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast tonight?
Yeah, I guess thank you to everyone at NXTGEN for obviously putting on these races, and always being respectful, and you know, always informative in the chat as well. You know, there's been a lot of debate about the new Ferrari, and I think the admin and the staff have dealt with it really well, and made the right decisions. And obviously a shout out to you, Paul. We obviously chat a couple of times in the week, and you always encourage me on as well. So I always have in the back of my mind I want to do well for you as well. So, and then I hope to watch the replay the next day, and that you've got me on the screen a lot. So yeah. So thanks for obviously your brilliant commentary. You know, you make the races fun when you watch them back, even if it's not myself or Russ I'm watching. So.
Well, that's very kind of you to say, but with that, Jonathan, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you join me in the interview room as always. And whilst it perhaps wasn't your lucky day today, still 2 brilliant fighting back performances on top of what was a strong qualifying session for yourself. Plenty to be pleased with as we head to Canada a week from today. But until then, have a fantastic rest of your evening, and thank you once again.
Cheers, Paul. Thank you.
So hearing that there from our gold class driver, Jonathan Cook for Performance Link Esports, and in his own words there, the results today not being representative of perhaps what he was able to bring to the table, and I think I definitely agree with that assessment, given the fact in qualifying, well, qualifying is always going to be contentious, in the fact it's a 1-lap shootout. If you can find the lap, find the toe as well, and nail it all together. But still, credits where it's due in the fact that when we see lap times of 59.1s being delivered by Stephan Wessels to take pole, and that is phenomenal in its own right, and we say hello to him in the YouTube chat there, and describing it's been a difficult round for himself there, but still has been enjoying proceedings and the broadcast day. But turning things around, when we go into the race, that is where we saw Cook today take a good qualifying result, one of his best of the season so far, and really starting to get within those times at the very front of the field, and it all went wrong in the open laps of the race. So that contact with the back of Gaz Williams' car, and will still manage to bounce back in a P6 in class in the sprint race, set himself up for what was a close to the front row start, second row of the grid going into the feature race, but an adventurous move at the start ends up with a mating with the inside wall after less than 100 metres covered, but still, did it dissuade him from pushing on? No, and in the end, coming back to P5, holding on for one of the fastest drivers on the grid in the process in the form of Matt Shorter, and that's what it's all about for the Performance Link Esports drivers, particularly Jonathan Cook, never giving up, carrying on, and I think it's that spirit that could see him do very well in Canada for our final sprint and feature combination in a week's time, and we'll look forward to definitely seeing it happen. But now coming on to our second and unfortunately our last interview of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, our previous interviewee of what was Jake Pitt no longer available to conduct an interview, so therefore we will only have one more interview, and we're going to be hearing it from our double bronze winner today of Nigel Stock. And what a performance it has been from Nigel, in the fact absolutely delivering once again. And as he gets ready to join me in the interview room, we're going to be hearing his thoughts on what has definitely been a hard but fast drive to victory today, and we'll also get to hear about that battle with Elwyn Sykes in the sprint race. But as he now joins me in the interview room, good evening to you, Nigel, and well, once again on winning form, double victory today at Silverstone, and with these results putting yourself in the lead of the Bronze Championship as we're to understand it, you must be absolutely pleased.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I believe. I think, look, if my memory is correct, I'm the only bronze driver to do it so far this season. So I'm sort of quite happy with that as well.
Oh, indeed, it's phenomenal, and the run of results keeps on coming, particularly after what was a difficult start to the season, but those fortunes really turning on around. And well, to break it down into its parts, let's talk a little bit about qualifying. The only session where you weren't on top today, beaten to pole position by Elwyn Sykes, but the gap between the two of you in the end standing at what was less than the 10th. It was an incredibly close qualifying session.
Yeah, I thought I'd got it, and then I looked at the time and then realised that he just beat me. So a little disappointed. It would have been nice to have got the full set of pole in qualify and the both wins, but you can't have everything. You got to take what you can, and yeah, it wasn't that far away either. So I mean, I don't think I could have done much better time than what I did. So all fairness to me, did well. He did well in the qualifying on pole and both races, finishing second. So yeah, he was done well.
Oh, indeed. And as we went into the sprint race, we got to see the two of you exchanging up positions early on. And in the end, it was all about a chase in the final 10 minutes of the race, but you managed to find your way ahead of the CSA driver.
Yeah, I was just trying to keep my nose clean at the start and just try and not have any incidents like I've had earlier in the season, and then eventually managed to get a bit of clear space where I could catch him up and try and get by.
And just on that, take us through overtaking here at Silverstone, because it's a wide open circuit. There's plenty of corners with which to try and go for moves. It's a circuit that naturally invites close battling.
Definitely, it's certainly one of my favourite tracks, and probably the closest track. So it's very much my home track. So I really wanted to do well here, and it's kind of quite a flowing track. So it's always good to just sort of sit behind and try and work out where I was stronger compared to whoever was in front of me, and then just work out how I could try and get past. Is the way I do it. I don't know if that's the way everyone else does it, but that's the way I do it.
Indeed, and what a smart and sensible approach to batting your way on through, and in the end charging home for victory in the first race, and then having to do it all again, albeit from the back of the bronze class in the feature. But with the early instance, you very quickly found yourself actually up into the top 5.
Yeah, it's a bit crazy to start with cars everywhere, really. But I just tried to. I even sort of held back a bit and let sort of like whole B class go get ahead of it, so I could just go sort of single file if I needed to, and then just wait and sort of just build my way into the races. It's a bit longer race, so you don't need to rush through the field like you do in the first race. So that's why I just focus on just trying to stay out of trouble for the first like 5 laps or so.
Well, indeed, staying out of trouble and being able to sift your way through the instance and the carnage. And then we got to see you starting to make your way on through, first overtaking Mark Sykes for what was second place, and then battling your way past, I believe it was James Smagsgal to take the lead of the class.
I believe so, yeah. Just, I mean, I think there was an instant at the front that slowed him down a bit, which helped me catch him up a bit quicker, and then I just focused on trying to get a bit of a gap then after I'd passed him.
And I think there Nigel might be called by his son or a family member at least. We'll just give it a moment to come back.
Sorry about that. Someone's woken up.
That's no problem at all. We won't keep you for too much longer. And after taking the lead of the class, it looked as though it was a relatively straightforward race as you gradually built up a gap which would be a 15-second win come the checkered flag.
Yeah, I was certainly, I was, it was sort of getting a bit like, I was like, a bit surprised really, because it's, like, with my bad luck through the beginning of the season, I sort of was a little bit worried, like, oh, what's going to go wrong? And then I sort of noticed that the 2 guys in front were battling away. So I wasn't so much trying to catch them up, but I was just sort of more trying to just sort of take my, sort of just have something to focus on. So, and it would seem to be quite a good battle between, I think it was Russell Fowler and someone. And I was just watching that and thought I've got the best seat in the house because it seemed to be quite a good battle between them. So I just sort of sat behind and just took it easy and just sort of tried to use like their toe to try and get like the fastest lap point. And I don't know if I got it or not, but just try and build a gap and just try and keep out of trouble and try and sort of have something to focus on so I didn't make a silly mistake or anything really. So Yeah, and then because it felt like the time it was taking forever before that when I was just driving around on my own. It's just like, oh no, is the race ever going to end? But then when I started just trying to distract my mind onto something else, it went down a bit quicker then.
Oh, indeed. And on that point, having the front row seat of the battle between Alfonso Marin and Russell Fowler, no urge to try and get involved yourself and pick up a couple more places?
Well, it was a little bit. I mean, I think both of them were too. Like, the only reason I caught up was because they were battling. Really, I think there was a little bit of me that wanted to sort of like try and fight. But then I thought, if I throw it away and knock one of them off, or something happens and I end up in a crash that isn't mine, well, whatever happens, I'll be gutted that I didn't win. So I sort of thought I'll just let them fight it out, and I'll just have a ringside seat sort of thing. So that's what I did.
Well, indeed, and with that patience really paying off in the end, and another win added to your name. Indeed, our only double winner in the sprint and feature combination this season. And well, now only 2 rounds remain. Round 7 in a week's time at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park sees you take on the final sprint and feature combination. Could we expect another double win there?
Well, I'll certainly try, but it's not my favourite track, but um, I certainly do my best to try and get a good score again, and try and make it a bit easier for myself at Le Mans. But I have to just see what happens. Really, I'll just probably do what I did here, just focus on trying to stay out of trouble for the first so many laps, and then see where I am after that.
Well, we'll definitely look forward to seeing how you get on at the Motorsport circuit a week from today. But just before we do let you go, Nigel, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast tonight?
Um, well, to the kids for letting me race, I suppose, even though they're needing me now. To the next gen for putting on another great championship for yourself. Great commentary for everyone that raced, and forever whoever's watching, whether they support me or not.
Well, Nigel, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you join me in the interview room. As always, congratulations on your double victory today. Well deserved. And we look forward to seeing plenty more from you in a week's time in our penultimate round of the season. But until then, have a fantastic rest of your evening.
And thank you. Bye.
So hearing there from Crest Autosports, Nigel Stock in the bronze class, and what a pair of drives today. Missing out on pole in the end by only a tenth versus Elwyn Sykes, but in his own words, feeling as though there wasn't much more he could get out of the car in qualifying, so fine margins in the end prevented him from picking up the perfect score today. But the flip side of the coin being that after things had calmed down in the opening couple of laps, he had the prime seat to go chasing after the CSA driver, and whilst Elwyn Sykes did everything he could to hold on, in the end it would be Nigel who would find his way through to take victory and charge off with it to the distance. Our second race of the day, hanging back at the start and openly stating that he expected it to be a little bit of a cacophony of cars at the start, and opting instead to play it conservatively, and that conservatism working out. And as we've seen in the pictures in the background during our interview with Nigel, making the pass in the end on James Spance's to take the lead of the bronze class, and after doing so, never looking back and just charging off into the distance. And well, you've seen a bit of action between Russell Fowler and Alfonso Marin at the end, but not wanting to get involved because again his focus purely on that bronze championship, and whatever bad luck he had at the start of the season, and tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, that bad luck has gone, and we are seeing the true Crest Autosport driver here. And Nigel Stock right now, well, he's not going to be able to put the championship to bed come the end of round number 7 in a week's time, but given the fact he'll be going into next week's round as the leader and now really is emerging as the favourite, if he picks up another double podium or even 2 wins next week, he'll be putting himself in position to take that bronze championship crown in our season finale with both arms wide open, and that is something in terms of a turnaround this season, and an inspirational one at that, it must be said. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our interviews for today. And we've heard from our 2 drivers there. Unfortunately, as we said earlier, we were meant to have 3 interviews, with the third one being with none other than what would have been Jake Pitt from Aztec Racing, but unfortunately he's had to back out due to personal circumstances, but that's no problem at all. We understand our drivers, some of them do need to get some sleep, of course, for work the next day and other circumstances, but still, we have heard from our 2 interviews today from Performance Link Esports, firstly, of Jonathan Cook in the gold class in the 144 on a rising charge day at Silverstone, and we've also heard from your double bronze winner, the number 30 driver from Crest Autosport, Nigel Stock there, and absolutely on form right now, and can anybody stop him? That's the big question. Congratulations to both of them on the performances today, and thank you to them both once again for joining me in the interview room. But with that, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. If you have enjoyed today's show and you want to know more about the Next Gen Racing community, perhaps you're sat there right now thinking to yourself, okay, this season's coming to a close, but I'd love to be on the grid for the next season, the GT3 League. Surely there's got to be a Season 5 on the cards. Well, we're definitely planning things at the moment. We're not going to tell you exactly what's planned, but it's definitely something GT3 related, and we'd love to see you on the grid. There's no question about it. Well, if you want to find out more about our ongoing series, plus also our upcoming series when the details are revealed, the first thing to do is we recommend you check out our official website, and that's at nextgenracing.co.uk. And as our website appears on screen currently for you, it's the home of clean and fair sim racing for all, and we've been hosting leagues for the best part now of almost 17 years on PC and console, albeit we're now focusing purely on PC for the time being, particularly on iRacing as a simulator platform, and we've got plenty of leagues planned as we go from strength to strength over the remainder of 2023 and onwards into 2024, and we'd love to have you as part of our journey as we continue to grow. But if you're not necessarily wanting to go to our website today, and perhaps you're more of a social media person, well, the number one place to go to social media wise at Next Gen Racing is our official Facebook group, and that may be found at facebook.com/groups/Next Gen Racing, where you can find out all about our upcoming and ongoing leagues, but also you can interact a little bit more with our staff members and our administrators, some of whom are real world track marshals or alternatively racing drivers, and well, there's a lot about us that you can find out on the official Facebook group. But ladies and gentlemen, we're now going to turn our attentions to the penultimate round of the season, round 7 of 8, next week on Wednesday the 20th of September 2023. Save the date, it's the final sprint and feature combination. And in Canada, we're going to find out a lot more about our drivers in terms of who the championship contenders are going into the season finale. The host circuit for next week is Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Fast-flowing, high-speed and medium-speed apexes all the way, and some major elevation changes as well. It's going to feel like Silverstone turned up to 11 on a roller coaster ride, but who is going to enjoy the ride and come out on top? We'll have to find out then. But until then, we've been Next Gen Racing. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain Spit, depending on what media follow me on. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, but most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night.